Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening.
I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph, I'm just here drinking or slurping the juice.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way to create 3 new apes. I found a recipe online.
Oh, okay, cool.
1 Astro ape and 3 slurp juices, you can create 3 new apes. And I've been slurping the juice with my Astro ape for like hours, and I don't see 3 new apes.
Did you have the ratio correct? It's 3 slurps to 1 ape, or 3?
It's 1 Astro ape and 3 slurp juices. You can create 3 new apes. And I'm returning it. I'm gonna get in touch with the slurp juice ape people.
Sometimes you can swap out different like substitution. Have you tried scissor instead of
scissor? No.
Scissor. No?
I don't think that's a thing anymore. I think that was from like 15 years ago.
Right. Is that
Now they're just slurping right out of an ape. straight from the ape, the Astro ape. 3.
I thought
and
the rule
3.
was ape shall not slurp ape. Is that not what
I think only if you juice them.
I saw this is such a confusing time to be.
People are probably tuning in right now. Right? Going through the dial, finding the YSGOAT on there.
Adjusting the rabbit ears.
Yep, adjusting, on their, what is that thing called that the truckers would use?
The CB radio, yeah.
Yeah, that's how, we're available on all platforms that have podcasts. It says Spotify. We're on Spotify.
Right.
We got rid of that.
We swapped out Spotify for the Citizens Band radio.
And we're on CB radio. So 1099er, hey, good buddy.
Gained quite a few listeners, yeah. So
so we've been confusing a lot of truckers for the past year now.
Yeah.
With our CB radio, they're like, get off the dial, kid. I remember I had a friend who was really big into CB radio.
Oh yeah.
He used to go on it and just, I don't know, have conversations with people, and like someone would just be like, get the fuck off, kid.
Right.
I don't know. Well, I didn't get into it. He was like super into it. Like he had all kinds of CB.
Oh, I was real into it back in the day. I'd get on there and I would be like A S A B, all Smokies are bastards. And they would just
wasn't the whole thing about CB radio that was the AOL chat room of the late 70s, early 80s.
There was like a brief, like maybe a 6-month window, I think, where CB culture was like huge, and it was right around the time Smokey and the Bandit came out, and and it was like
Smokey and the Bandit killed it.
No, you'd go out and you'd buy. I think I had a Cobra brand CB radio. And most people would put them in their cars, but I was like 8, so I put it in like my garage, and you could get on there, and it was a big deal.
And it's funny you bring that up, the fad, because the thing I was talking about, the apes slurping the juice of the ape juice apes, that's from some like NFT nonsense that I saw today that's been kind of flowing around on the internet.
Yeah,
on Twitter, people are like making fun of it, but like, I mean, it was like the most bizarre thing. So it was like, ape holders can use multiple slurp juices on a single ape. So if you have 1 Astro ape and 3 slurp juices, you can create 3 new apes. Tonight's slurp juice mint event is essentially a minting event for both lab monkeys and something. And this one person wrote, no, my God, this is completely wrong. First of all, the slurp juice smart contract forbids you from holding more than 1 slurp juice at a time in order to keep transactions up. Second of all, it's called slurp juice because it slurps the ape, not the other way around. That was from Alexandra Aaron.
How could a slurp juice slurp an ape? That doesn't even make any sense. I don't
know either. I made a little meme with Buffalo Bill from the Silence of the Lambs, where he's looking down about the Silence of the Apes. Yeah, of sounds, slurping of the apes is the reboot movie, slurping of the apes. And Buffalo Bill's looking down when he was looking about the lotion basket, and it says, one astro ape, 3 slurp juices, you can create 3 new apes. And one person wrote, let's see where I can find it. It slurps the ape with the juice. Slurping of the ape. I should retweet that now, the R, and say this is from the movie Slurping of the Apes. Hold on.
It's just such a confusing time to be alive, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
hold on. Just tweeting. This is from the movie. Is it called The Silence of the Lambs?
yeah, the silence.
So
of
it's the slurping of the apes. It's gonna get like 4 likes. One of them's gonna be from Joseph, the other one's gonna be from our YSGOAT account.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel better now.
Right.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, so I guess we've talked about NFTs. We're not gonna spend much time on it. We have other things to talk about. But yeah, it's awesome. It's like crashing hard. And
It's
like,
yeah, the number of unique, you tweeted this, and it was the number, you retweeted basically a news article, and it said like that it's crashed like 90-some%, and that the number of unique wallets that hold NFT was like a crazy low number. I want to say it was like in the hundreds, I mean in the thousands, like low thousands or something. Which is just a big turnaround. I mean, that was very recently supposed to be like a giant, big industry that was accelerating.
yeah, but we talked before we talk on here,
Yes.
pre-game,
Yeah.
So the guy I used to know took the Long Island Railroad, you could drink on there. And
Right.
I said I think people shouldn't be allowed to drink on the train because like there's like lots of bad shit that happens on there and people just want to get to the city. And he responded with me, he's like, hell no, man. I got a pregame before I get to New York. I was like, wow, you're a massive douchebag. I didn't say that. It was kind of like a thought bubble.
Here's the article that you retweeted. The NFT market is collapsing. Sales fell to a daily average of about 19,000 this week, a 92% decline from a peak of about 225,000 in September. Active wallets fell 88% to about 14,000 last week. So I guess I kind of misunderstood that when I first looked at it. I guess active wallets probably just means wallets that are buying and selling them with any regularity. There's only 14,000 people still doing it. There's probably a bunch of other wallets that have an NFT sitting in there, but like some people just, you wake up one morning, if you have a crypto wallet, and you can have an NFT just in there. You can't stop people from giving it to you, which is a little bizarre.
It's like the U2 album on that iPad, on that iPhone.
It's
remember?
Same thing. Yeah.
It was really hard to get it off. I figured out how to get rid of it. I was like, it would always come on.
Yeah. I like you. I have an odd soft spot for you too.
But that was always like an odd thing where it was like for years it was like a reverse of like a Napster where they were like, instead of people taking music, Apple was like, here,
right, you
we're forcing this on you. It was like,
I'll tell you, man, my when like a long time ago, my little brother, back when you still bought like, it was common to buy a song off iTunes. My little brother was doing a school project and he asked to buy like 3 songs on my iTunes account, and he bought New York State of Mind by Jay-Z and I forget her name, a singer, and like a Frank Sinatra song, like 3 really bizarre songs that wouldn't normally be in my rotation. They still come on constantly because I bought them, so yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. But the thing about the NFT thing is, the guy's pointing out those numbers, is that I don't think it was ever big. I think it was, I mean, I think it's big among a group of weird people who love this crap. There's people who are really into it. I'm not going to deny it. There are people that are successful with it, but I think it's a very niche market.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a pyramid scheme for anyone that was new, that doesn't understand this bullshit, hasn't been on a Discord for the past decade.
Yeah.
Understands how NFTs work. All the people that are successful understand how it works. Well, what it did was a lot of people were buying their own NFTs with a different name, under a different name.
Yeah.
And getting it out there. Oh my God, this fucking JPEG sold for $200,000, or this Beeble crap JPEG of all his stuff sold for 69 million. And then you find out no one bought it. It was the same person. Or getting like Justin Bieber to say that he bought a $300,000 JPEG, when in reality he didn't pay for it at all. He was paid to say it. Yeah. So it was this incredible. You have a very stupid product that is nothing, and then you have a lie on top of it where they're inflating the prices, and it's creating like a false demand. And if it's a false demand, it's going to crash hard. You need a real. I mean, it just was a lot of people fell for it as a get rich quick scheme, and like a lot of people probably realized, oh, I just wasted. And then on top of it, I think the other thing people don't understand, that the biggest problem with NFTs is the gas thing.
Yeah.
Here, I give you this free NFT. Oh, well, you want to I don't even understand the transaction. Well, it's going to cost you like $1,200. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's like those people who win a car on The Price is Right, and then they get home and they get like a Toyota Celica and a bill for $4,000 because of the sales.
Yeah, but the difference is you got a new car for $4,000.
That's true. Yeah,
it's not a JPEG that's just gonna sit in your wallet and do nothing. There's people who have oh yeah, someone wants to buy my NFT for like $100, but like the gas fee. Right. I still don't understand that gas fee. I mean, who's getting that money? That money has to be going somewhere, and it's like I don't understand that whole gas fee. That to me just seems like that's what just makes it so much more of a scam to me.
Yeah. Well, the problem. Yeah, I think the problem is there's multiple problems with it. I think like most things at its heart, it probably started as like a legitimate thing with people doing, unusual kind of forward thinking projects. And then a lot of grifters are like, you know what, I can make a buck off this. And that's where it like all went to hell quickly. And a lot of people, I think another thing is like, I would never go into an art dealer and start thinking that I'm an expert on what kind of art to buy for an investment. You know what I mean? Like, or that I'm going to wander into, a fine jewelry store and pick out the best. I just don't know any of that shit. But a lot of people just wandered in and thought they were experts on NFTs all of a sudden.
Well, one of the funniest things is, like I said, I follow like the whole comic book collecting thing and like trends. And one of the things was the NFT started creeping in, and I was like, "Fuck that! That's so stupid. You guys go waste money on NFTs. I'll go buy the actual original comics for a lower price since everyone's wasting their money on this garbage." A lot of these comic guys, and I saw them, they thought that they could buy up, get in on the release of these NFT comics, because they did sell out.
Right.
And then sell them for like quadruple, whatever the price was, so that they now have the money to go buy
the real comic
or something better or whatever. And a lot of these people realized that like they couldn't even sell it, and it like crashed like real. You don't hear any of these guys ever. Like for like 2 months, I was like, I'm not watching these guys anymore. I'm like, if you're gonna talk about this crap, you lost me. Like this is so stupid. Like it's bad enough when like you're trying to tell me like this bullshit comic that no one cares about has value now. This is like ridiculous. This isn't even a thing.
Well, I think that's a good example. Is like the same people that like if the average person that didn't know anything about comic books walked into a comic book store, they wouldn't know what they're doing. I mean, they might buy a good book by accident, but like more often than not, they would just like walk out of there kind of
confused.
Like they wouldn't know like, oh well, I should buy this book because this show is coming out or whatever. But at least they would have the actual comic books that would have some sort of value. this is like the same thing, but like at the end of it, they just have JPEGs, you know?
It's so stupid. I'm so. I mean, and then it's like not. I mean, everyone's making fun of the slurp juice thing, but it's like it's fucking nonsense. Like, who's it? Like, what? It sounds like something out of Rick and Morty. Like you ever watch like Rick and Morty when they do the cable channel, like where they watch the intergalactic cable, and it's all these like nonsense shows. I could just hear like Justin Roiland's voice, like, oh, and then you gotta slurp the juice, and then you gotta like
it is very
and it creates three
absurd.
apes, and then the apes what?
It's very absurd. I mean, it's like
they're making it. It's like they're making it up as they go along. They're like, and then the apes need to be juiced to create the slurp, and then the slurp brings the three juices of the apes. Like what?
Yeah. Well, like most things,
I do not think that there'll be a day like NFTs. Unfortunately, I don't think are like gonna go away.
No.
I just think that like what I hope is like every company that I see now, which is really funny, and I know we have like a whole list of stuff. You guys are coming in, you're like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? All these companies, because it, you know, all the attention to NFTs really came in early 2021, like February to like April. It's like you would hear like Grimes sold 6 million in NFTs, and like, and everyone was like jumping on it. So all these like corporations and companies, they jumped on it, and but it's like they're not just like putting some art and crapping it out in a week. Like they're putting time into it, and like there's some good art in there, but it's being wasted on something stupid like this. And all these companies put them out, and then people are just like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Like, and you just see it in the comments section on social media. Now, listen, they could be selling, and they're like, "We don't give a fuck what these people say in the comment section." But I mean, like, really, you want like on your Twitter and your Instagram and all that to be literally like 95% of the comments of like, you guys suck. You guys, this is shit. You jumped the shark. Like, I'm sorry, that's not good. No. That's not good for your brand. As like, if you cashed in real quick, great, good for you. You know, I mean, I don't have fun paying the gas fees or whatever. I'm sure corporations have a way of figuring out how to do it better than I do when it comes to actually extrapolating money out of this bullshit. But I mean, like, why don't you just sell like tar? Like, you know, like, like, just put out and say, hey, for every NFT we make, we light a tree on fire. Oh, we do, because that's like the equivalent of it. Yeah. My favorite, though, to this day, though, is every time someone tries to like announce one and they know that it's crap, but they'll try to say like, oh no, this is EF46, which is more sustainable. It's like, what? Like, if you have to tell people this, you know you're in the wrong. Like, come on. Right. Or I was told they're going to update it. They're not going to update it. They got server farms. They're not going to like go, oh. And then let's say they do update it. Great. Now you have like thousands of like servers that are just junk. Where are you going to put them? Yeah. Like, it's trash now. Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny. It's like the same thing when I think about like electric cars and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they're great. Well, what happens to all the old cars? Yeah, well, they'll probably get shipped to like Indonesia or Africa, I mean, like they'll get junked. But like, it's not like they're not known to disintegrate. It's not a that's a good question. Cornstarch bag or something. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do actually. Cars are probably recycled. Like the metal is probably recycled pretty easily. You can melt down metal. Yeah. Like I always say, like cans. Like if you're gonna buy things, you should buy cans because cans can actually be truly be recycled. Yeah, like you want to make sure they're like BP free or whatever the hell that is. Bottles are not really. I always thought that was crazy. Plastic bottles are not recyclable. They really can't. I always thought. Yeah, cars. I remember I read this big article. There's a boat. I forget the Cougar Ace was the name of the boat. And it's the fucking weirdest story. Did I ever tell you about this? The Cougar Ace. There's this giant cargo ship. It only had like 3 or 4 people on it. And and it was hauling like 2,000 Mitsubishis from Japan to the United States. And the guy accidentally released one of the ballast tanks, but not the other. So the boat tipped over, like in the middle of the ocean. So he accidentally juiced he's one slurp for 3 apes or
fucking
whatever.
capsized the boat is what he did. There's like 2,000 Mitsubishis underwater. Anyway, this team came and I can't believe it's not been a movie already. This team of 5 experts came and like righted the boat. They figured out how to fix it. They got it on shore, but they had to junk all the Mitsubishis because if they ever sold them and like the brakes failed, the lawsuits would be crazy. And they had video.
The brakes?
No, the cars were like literally submerged. If anything,
yeah, that's
happened.
true. I think they're a little. The salt water is probably not good for your transmission.
They weren't all submerged, but the company was just like, we got to junk them. And they had this fucking giant machine that was like a giant garbage disposal. And they literally dropped the cars into just one after the other. And they got like fucking huge shredded pieces of metal that they turned into some other kind of car, I guess. But anyway, so long story short, yeah, who knows? There's plenty of things will have a second life. NFTs, not so sure what they do after they've sold initially.
I'm just curious, like, there's been so many dumb like trends over the years, like pogs.
Oh yeah.
That where do you go from NFT? I mean, from a digital standpoint, I'm talking about like as a skin, like a collectible. I'm not talking about a utility item or anything like that, but like like, I mean, it makes sense if we were like big into like baseball cards and sports cards, like that's where the NFTs kind of spawned out of with like the basketball and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, what is
the next level? That's a great question. I don't know.
I think it's literally a pill. Or just drugs.
A scent. Just a
spore.
A spore.
A spore that goes up your nose.
Wow. This will be my awkward transition.
My ape in my set in my
tonight we're going to talk a little pop culture stuff and then get into basically one big topic that has parts to it. We're talking about Moon Knight, we're talking about Ozark, and we're talking about the Obi Wan trailer.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about the Supreme Court, the leaked Supreme Court decision,
quote unquote, leaked,
to overturn Roe versus Wade.
The thing we all saw that was coming once Amy Coney batshit got put on.
That seemed to be the final piece of the puzzle for
it was always on one. It was always on one person.
Yeah.
Or two, because what's her face refused to leave. But we'll get into that later.
And then within that, we're going to talk about, I guess, Madison Cawthorne has had an interesting hump day, so to speak.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, you should tweet that.
And JD Vance won his primary. And then we're going to talk about kind of what all this means for the midterms and the SCOTUS decision, obviously a huge part of that. And then that's the show. So it does seem like there's just a few political or news topics, but they're just really big, kind of in-depth ones. So
I guess since today's, it's not 11, it's not midnight yet. So it's still, do you know what today is?
What is today? Oh yeah,
it's the 4th of May.
Yeah, it's May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
Or as other dorks would say,
the Schwartz.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna make like a virginity joke or something like.
Okay.
Like it's it's Star Wars Day.
Yes.
And that means that they always do something. So like Obi Wan show's coming out, so they released a new trailer to the Obi Wan show that's going to be on Disney Plus, a mini series, 6-part show. So let's just knock that out real quick.
Yeah.
You see the trailer?
I did.
What did you think?
It looked amazing. It looked really, really good.
It did. I'm really. It looks like this one's like one of those things I'm like genuinely excited about. Like even like Book of Boba Fett, I was always like, I don't know what this is gonna be.
Right.
Like I enjoyed it. People hated on it, and listen, you know what? To this day, I get why people hated on it. I don't really care. I think some of them are just being dicks or mean or whatever. I think taking a character that's always worn a mask and then having the character not wear a mask at all the entire show.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's odd. You're like, that's not who that character is.
Right.
But at the same time, you're like, well, that character didn't really have a character before. Literally was just an action figure. And now that he talks more, you're like annoyed.
Yeah,
I think still to this day though, the Mandalorian Grogu taking over the show for 2 episodes in the Boba Fett is still the oddest,
it's
bizarre decision making.
it's just inexplicable,
And to have it, and to like not just literally not have Boba Fett in the show for 2 episodes, basically. He shows up for like 1 second in one of them. But then all of a sudden be like, okay, now here's the series finale. You're like, where? Like, at least have 1 more, so we can get the show back on the protagonist.
It made
like,
no
sense.
I liked Boba Fett, the show. I thought it was fine. It just was a really bizarre, really strange decision making. This new Obi Wan show looks great. It looks really, really good, and it actually looks like it has an interesting story to tell.
Before you get into that, because just like Mandalorian Grogu stay on the show, I'm going to talk about Mandalorian Grogu for a second.
Okay.
Did you see that video of Robert Rodriguez playing the guitar with Grogu?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
That's amazing. That puppet's so good. The Grogu puppet.
Yeah.
Did you? And then I was going to make a joke and say that even in the last episode of the Book Boba Fett, the very last scene of the show is not Boba Fett. It's Mandalorian and Grogu in the ship, and he's like knocking with the ball.
Yeah,
like,
that was a great scene.
It didn't even end on.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Obi Wan. So, I mean, there's not much to really talk about. There's a cool interaction between Uncle Owen and Obi Wan. I would like a 6-part series where we find out that like, how did Obi Wan get so old in in 18 years? And I would say, besides being in a desert with 2 sons, probably not great for the skin.
Right.
I think that he got addicted to death sticks, which is the drug from Attack of the Clones.
Could have been.
There was a guy selling death sticks. He goes, "You want to buy any death sticks?" And Obi-Wan's like, "No." And then he's like, "You're gonna change your ways or whatever."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm gonna change my ways," but it would be ironic if that's what Obi-Wan falls into.
Yeah, I could see that.
He just gets like, it's just like a 6-part. Like you think like, oh man, this show's gonna be sick. He's gonna be like hunting. He's gonna fight all these like dark side guys, and then Obi-Wan's gonna like fight Darth Vader. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And then you find out it's like a 6-part show where he gets addicted to death sticks in like the 1st or 2nd episode, and then he has like a breakdown, and then the 6th episode or the 5th episode, he's going through like a 12-step program.
It's like Requiem for a Jedi.
Yeah. Ass to ass. Jedi. No, what would it be? What would it sit to sit? Lightsaber to lightsaber. No, what?
Right, lightsaber to lightsaber.
It's like the Darth Maul double lightsaber would have a whole
saber to saber. Yeah.
That old man. Ash to ash.
And it would have the traditional Star Wars arm cutting off scene, so that fits.
Yeah, well, I think. Oh yeah, that's right. Jared Leto gets his arm cut off from all that heroin infections. Right. I think that would be a great fuck you to the fans. I would enjoy the show. It would. And like none of that stuff happens. None of the cool stuff we saw in the trailer.
Well, the trailer did make it look like an amazing show, and it looks like movie quality, like most of these have.
This one looks more movie quality than the other ones, and I thought Book of Boba Fett looked great.
Oh, Book of Boba Fett looked great. The first season of The Mandalorian, you could tell they were dealing with maybe not like a stripped down budget, but they wanted to tell small stories. Like
not the budget they were dealing with. They had a limited budget, but even as the show went on, it got better. Then that second season, it was like leaps and bounds. But Book of Boba Fett just looked. There was some. I mean, the Mandalorian episode alone when he's on that space station is amazing. Yeah, it's almost like I don't even know. Like, is it worth making these movies anymore? Like,
well, I don't know. It's weird. I was thinking about that, and I'm not going to jump into Moon Knight already, but like one of the things I had with Moon Knight was like the format. Like I loved Moon Knight, but I wasn't confident that it worked well as a 6-episode series. I maybe more, maybe less. Anyway, I think that's like with Star Wars stuff, you should probably more think about like, well, what kind of what form should this story take? Is this a movie story? Is this like a 2-hour standalone thing? Or I don't know. I mean, like those.
Well, The Mandalorian was always good in that it like they're like individual episodes that feed into each other.
Episodic.
They have them do, it's like an old Western basically.
Yes.
In some ways, like comes into a new town, takes on a new villain, whatever. Some people like that's an old TV show trope.
Yeah.
It's like easy to do, and then Book Boba Fett, which is why it didn't work with The Mandalorian, is because it felt like they were trying to give you a Boba Fett movie. Like This is a 6-part Boba Fett movie, and we didn't get that. Like I would have liked to have seen, an episode dealt with his relationship to Cad Bane, and to me, it would have made like so much more of an impactful end. And like I said, if they just said, "Hey, we're taking a week off from Book Boba Fett to give you a special episode," this is not meaning like you could watch all 6 episodes of Book Boba Fett and not have to watch that Mandalorian episode. You can enjoy it, but like you don't need to watch it to watch
it's not part of the story.
So you're like telling a movie, and that's why that didn't work, because it was like it felt like they were trying to tell a movie. So I hope with the Obi Wan series, and I feel like they're not going to do that mistake. And you're not going to pay Ewan McGregor to come back to be Obi Wan and then like have fucking Dengar have an episode. Right. No, let's focus on Bosk now.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor is still like a legitimate star.
I imagine that guy who did not really enjoy, from what I heard, enjoyed making those prequels, had to be paid a handsome probably was given a Bored Ape, maybe some juice slurp. He's like, do I have to slurp the juices to get the apes? And they're like, no, Ewan, we got you. Don't worry, you got a guy.
Ape slurps you.
We're covering your gas fees. Don't worry.
Right. So yeah,
Ape slurps you. Yeah, in Tatooine, Ape slurps you.
Was that? I was trying to think. I tweeted something like that. Was that Yakov Smirnov who did that?
Yeah, that's like in Russia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's Russia. What I was trying to go with. And I was like, I don't think I'm saying this right.
I got it. I got it. And it made total sense to me. It was very funny.
Yeah. Well, this Obi Wan show looks great. It visually looks great. There's a ton of great scenery and effects, and the it just hits all the right buttons.
The Darth Vader tease was awesome. They like building him. I'll be honest with you, I'm not too crazy about them having a confrontation. I mean, I don't really care if it's good, whatever. I don't think it matters.
I don't think it makes sense, because when Vader saw Obi Wan in the Death Star in A New Hope, it seemed like it had been a while, right?
I mean, listen, if this show takes place like 8 or 9 years after the first one, and then you have another 8 or 9 years afterwards,
I guess,
that still holds. Hey, it's been a while. It's been like a decade.
Sure.
That's not like the last time I saw you.
Right.
That time in episode to be determined.
Right. That's a great thing about Vader. You don't have to dub anything. It's just all dub.
Well, I'm wondering if they're getting James Earl Jones. I mean, the guy's like 1,000 years old.
Yeah, that's a good question.
He's like, he's got he's got severe case of laryngitis. He's like really old. He's like sounds weak. I remember people were making a joke about that, like kind of like Rogue One. Like they got him to come back to do the voice, and they're like, "This sounds weird."
Yeah, there's got to be enough people that can sound like that. Just cut James Earl Jones a check or whatever for using the likeness of his voice.
Right. It's a strong possibility. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me.
I remember watching like years ago, there was like a Hong Kong Phooey movie that they were thinking of making, and they made like a CGI movie or something. And it was going to have Eddie Murphy playing Hong Kong Phooey. But they didn't have Eddie Murphy. They got a guy who just can imitate him.
Oh, okay.
And because it was just like a test reel. It wasn't like a full movie never got made. Even though I'm sure the joke is Eddie Murphy probably got paid to be it.
Probably, yeah.
And it's kind of like how what's his face got paid a ton of money to be Superman. Movie never got made. Millions. Never didn't even like not even one. I don't think one film like role was shot, like nothing. But But yeah, this guy sounded like exactly like Eddie Murphy, and it's like they got guys who can do that. So yeah, you probably have somebody who's like, and James Earl Jones just has to sign off and go, yes, that's me.
Honestly, there's probably an app that turns your voice into Darth Vader's voice. This is probably something anyone can do currently.
I really like the Luke thing in Mandalorian. Go back to that.
Yeah.
That was all. Now I saw behind the scenes. I guess he did show up and actually did stand in for the scenes.
Okay.
But like, if you listen to Mark Hamill's voice, it doesn't sound like his voice from the early '80s. He's got like a more grizzled. He's older.
Yeah.
There's no way. They supposedly like used like AI for that.
Sure.
Like,
I
his
believe
voices. What?
I believe it.
Harrison Ford's like, no fucking way you're doing that with me.
Then they backed a dump truck full of money up to his house, and he's like,
fine.
I'm too old for this shit, but I'll do it.
I mean,
I just wrecked my 4th plane of the week.
Do you remember that? Like, it's so funny. He hated being in Star Wars so much that, like, the rule was he would do Force Awakens if they killed him or something like that. But he almost got killed making that movie.
Yeah.
Like, he literally broke his neck, supposedly, making that movie.
Right.
Like, the door and Millennium Falcon opened and closed on his foot.
Yeah.
And then something else happened. What?
Then George Lucas's monkey paw put one more finger down. Like,
yeah. Oh, you don't want me? You don't want old George part of a new franchise? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. When does this come out? Like June?
May 27th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, May.
I am definitely. This is definitely like. I'm excited about
comes out
one.
in June. That's what. For All Mankind season 3 comes out in June. That's what I was thinking of.
Cool.
But yeah, no, this will be end of this month.
I think with For All Mankind, I might just wait until a bunch of episodes are out. I don't think I can watch that weekly. I think it'll make me nuts.
I watched the end of the 2nd season week by week.
Yeah, I don't enjoy that.
It was hard.
That was like Lost. I didn't get into until like season 5 or 6, whatever the last season was, and I was glad that this was still back when you relied on DVDs for Netflix, not so you had to make sure they were available. So I'd get a bunch of discs, but you still had to get the other discs. I don't think we could just sit there and bang through it. But I was like so glad. I was like, man, I'm so happy I watched it this way and not on TV. I think I would have made me nuts. And the same thing with Breaking Bad. I watched like everything up, I think, except for the last season that was split in half. That I'm like, was there 2 years apart? Oh my God, there was such a long wait in that last season.
I watched on Netflix, the last show I watched disc by disc on Netflix was True Blood. And I made it through like 3 seasons before I was like, what the fuck am I even doing here?
The first season's great. The second season's like interesting. Like I like the villain. She was like a weird demon. And then by the time you get to the 3rd season, it's so dumb. Yeah.
I bailed. I think it's the 3rd season or whatever. But you're right. The 1st season was real good. 2nd season's fine. And then it got stupid. And
stupid. I mean, it was always kind of stupid, but
but it was like fun stupid. Then it just got like hella stupid.
Well, just like it had no direction. It was just like everybody's fucking show going,
Yeah, it was. I liked it when it was like when very few people were like supernatural, and then like out of the blue, it was like, well, everyone is supernatural.
Yeah, all of a sudden, her best friend, that girl, had like powers, and
and her brother did, and like
she had powers. She was like a pixie or something, like a fairy. No, she was a fairy. Literally was a fairy. Yeah, and it was just like, it's like nonsense. Like, I did like that the one guy turned into a dog.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
He literally turned into like a little dog, but then he found out, I guess he could turn into other things.
Yeah, he was like a werewolf.
Well, he wasn't he was a morph guy or something.
Yeah.
Like, he supposedly could turn into other things if he wanted to. Just, I guess the dog thing was like the best was when they showed him when he was younger and he turned into a puppy. So stupid. I was like, no, this is so dumb. Dog, but it was a puppy.
Back then you could only have like 2 discs out at the time. You could pay extra and have like 3 out at the time. And I was like, I'm not wasting my fucking 2 discs on this True Blood. And so then I forget what I started after that. But then
I just remember like the queue. You would have the queue, and sometimes some things you wait forever. It's like basically like a video store too. Yeah. It's like there would be
forgot about the queue.
Never in. It was like it literally was like luck of the draw. You had to get there early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna shift to Moon Knight. Well,
all right. So yeah. Star Wars Obi Wan looks awesome. Can't wait for it. I think it's gonna be. I think it has potential to be the best show or movie or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically they're turning some of these shows into like really what they are as long movies. And now talking about Moon Knight, essentially, this was like a long movie for Moon Knight.
Yep.
I mean, it was a long origin film for Moon Knight, but
you honestly could have, and what is it, 6 episodes? Each episode was about 45 minutes long. You could have crammed this could have been a 2.5 hour origin story movie.
There's some things you could have edited a bit and trimmed some things. And
you would have had to skip some stuff. I mean, you wouldn't be able to have the character building, and you would have lost a lot in the process, but you could tell this basic story in a 2.5 hour movie.
So it's funny how this show is. It's like in these shows, they end up all turning into like some kind of Marvel movie in the end, even like WandaVision. It's like, I do like that the wife, or I guess she's considered his wife still, she became the avatar for the hippo character.
Yeah.
I love them. The hippo would communicate with her. Like she could communicate with people who are dying.
Yeah.
And you all of a sudden, like that one guy like dying in the field, whatever. It sounds like the hippo lady.
Right.
It's like,
hey, it's really, me. Tell
me. Okay, so they do not. There's no real ties to the rest of the Marvel universe in the show.
No.
But there is one. There is one tie to it,
which is
when they talk about the afterlife, and like there's and then the hippo lady, whatever. What's her name?
I think it's Tawet.
When she's talking about one of many, and I think she's implying like Black Panther. There's the afterlife in the Black Panther. Remember?
Okay.
Like, yeah. Like there's acknowledgement that, but I do find it shocking that I do find it interesting that they don't mention literally anything else in the Marvel universe in the show. Like not even like a glimpse. I find that to be like. It's like the first MCU thing to do that. It doesn't even mention but the thing is, like, I still feel like it was fine. It didn't matter. Like I feel like there was enough going on. What's his face is interesting enough. Oscar Isaac's character or characters. Playing multiple characters is interesting enough that you don't need like, you're just like Spider-Man. Right. So this is just like that time I saw Thor shoot lightning. Like they don't have to do that. It worked. My only complaint, I would have liked to have seen a little more of like Moon Knight doing stuff as Moon Knight a little more. Maybe like just a bit more. I'm not saying it like, I'm not being crazy like, oh my god, it's like, but a little more, there's like 2-3 episodes where you don't even see him in the Moon Knight. You barely see him in the Moon Knight.
There was so little Moon Knight, and it wasn't really until the end that the last episode is really the only episode where you see him in extended action.
It's really interesting how they played up the Steve Grant, Mark Spector thing, where they really are like 2 people, but they're taking up one space. And then in the end, they're like almost like a team. And it's so weird how the editing would be where like, because you have the Mr. Knight character, which is Steve Grant's version, which again, I haven't really familiar with the comic. I don't know if the Steve Grant, like if Mr. Knight is supposed to be Steve Grant's character. What I do know is that they changed Steve Grant a bit. He's not the billionaire character that he's supposed to be in the comic. Like he's but supposedly that whole, remember when the Moon Knight or Mark Spector punches Steve Grant, so that's my wife or something? That's in the comic, supposedly. Like when he literally punches himself. It's weird in the end when like they're almost like existing now at the same time. They're not like, they're almost like sharing the space at the same time now. they're like having a conversation. They're like in and out, and I found that a little weird. Like
it was real weird because Spectre woke up and he's basically like, Steve, are you there? Like he wasn't sure if Steve was there or not. And then Steve kind of comes to the surface in his head. It's like, yeah, I'm here. And he talks, and it is real weird. And they even talk about it a little bit in the show. Like, how are we going to work this? How are we going to share this body? I don't know. I love this show.
I think it makes sense now why they went with making Steve Grant sound British, because if they didn't, it would not. He would have to have some other. It's like it gives him a chance to give an extreme difference between the voices.
Yeah,
so you know that
you needed something very different.
Yeah, like, well, Steve Grant sounds like he's from Queens, and Mark Spector sounds like he's from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
you don't see the distinction between the
two. Yeah, that was necessary. It's just it's weird. The first several episodes, I was very like put off by the pacing and the changing of tones and stuff like that. And I'm still not like a huge fan of the Mr. Knight character. I think that
he's a little goofy.
It often seemed like The Mask, like Jim Carrey's The Mask.
Yeah.
But the show itself, and it's weird because usually I like the action kind of like caped hero scenes, but the scenes where like that whole little arc towards the end of the little kid Mark getting real traumatized and then kind of inventing Steven to help him, and then the scenes of adult Steven and Mark on the boat going through the desert, kind of working through those were just really, really good, like very powerful.
Yeah, they're really good. I know it's like coming to terms with himself, but it's like, and like he needs Steve, he goes back, he's like, no, I can't leave him. Like he is, like, to him, he invented him, but he's like a real person. It's almost like Steve is his brother.
Totally.
So he feels like if he left Steve to die, it was like he's killing his brother all over again. That's the way I look at it.
It is weird.
It's a weird dissociative personality, and it's not healthy.
This is a very extreme thing, but like I think, and like I don't think about this a lot or whatever, but like I look at myself now as like an adult, and then I look at the version of me that was like in my 20s before I got married and had a kid, and then I look at the little kid version of me, and these are like three different people. They just legitimately are. They look different, they act different, they have different interests and stuff, but I'm still the same person. But it is weird to, like, every once in a while I'll look like at an old photograph of me and I'll think to myself, like, I miss that guy, and it's like,
that guy was into the 90s YouTube, and I'm now into more of the older YouTube.
Right,
like people.
But and again, it's not as like weird or intense as what you see on Moon Knight, but I really liked that kind of dynamic, and it made me think a lot about how like people are a mix of several different characters, like in everyday life, we all are. And I thought the show was like really clever in how it explored that. And look, it worked just fine as a superhero movie, but I thought it had like a really cool psychological or whatever benefit.
I think the hint. Well, one, I like Khonshu. He was like one of my favorite characters. I like the design of it. I like F. Murray Abraham as the voice. Someone made a joke and said that they thought it was like F. Murray Kill. F. Murray Kill. F. Murray Abraham.
Nice.
But like I love the design of him. I love in the end how he looks when he's wearing the suit.
Yeah.
But he has like the skull head. I thought that was really cool. I like the his wife's costume. I thought that was cool.
That was awesome.
I like how Steve Grant reacts to it, because it's like, oh, it's like authentic Egyptian, like, I just find it interesting, like, so Mark doesn't know dick about like
Egypt,
but Steve does. They still share the same brain. I don't know. It's interesting. I guess in those months that he was Steve, he just researched it all the time. But I do like that there's like this horrific element though. So, the whole show, especially in the first like 2 episodes, it was like Steve Grant's being haunted by, he doesn't know what's going on. He's waking up, he's losing time. He's waking up in like pain where his jaw was out of whack, and he's like, what the fuck's going on? And then he finally talks to Mark Spector. But then throughout the show, there's been hints that there's another personality.
Right.
And in the last episode now, and there's been scenes where Mark Spector blacks out, and it's not Steve either. Steve has no idea. And this version like is 10 times more violent than Mark even is.
Right.
And they even did that in this episode. And I thought it was kind of like a little cheap. Like they're having this battle with Harrow. Harrow has that upgraded scepter now and powers because he's the full avatar now of the alligator lady.
Right. Yeah.
I like that character. I thought that was cool. I thought I know people are gonna say the CGI sucked or something. I thought it was fine. I
liked it.
It was fun. Like, what the fuck are you expecting? Like, I can't handle. Like, sometimes people get real. I can't handle some of the criticism of CGI. Sometimes, like, I'm always like, listen, if there's weight to it and it flows and it looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like it was CW CGI.
No, I liked it just fine. I liked the idea that I liked that they were like physical things. I liked that they were big and giant, like physically.
Yeah, I liked when they were Khonshu was fighting what's the name of the alligator?
Annette.
No. What was it?
Annette, right?
Yeah. And they were fighting in the background while the other fight was going on between the avatars. And I thought that was awesome. I like that, like, Khonshu kind of reveals that he had no intention of ever having her become like, but I like that the hippo ladies seem so nice. Why not become her avatar? It'd be fun becoming like super evil or something. But
I liked it too. Like the crocodile, the villain, the Annette, the crocodile. It wasn't that god wasn't entirely awful,
No.
I mean,
I think it served a purpose in some form. I think as a society, though, probably not good.
Right. Oh yeah. But Khonshu was kind of crappy. You're right. Tawet, the hippo, was like
Khonshu was about revenge, and Tawet was like the whole Minority Report, where you're just deciding that this person has the potential to kill them, like thought crime or whatever, or anything.
Pre-crime.
He's had a bad day at a store, and you're like, I hope that person, like, I don't know, have a pallet full of them. Guess what? You would have died. Tawet would have had you killed.
When Tawet rescued them in the desert with the boat, and Mark Stevens is like, hippo. Like, dude.
My favorite, there's a clip someone pointed out, was when what's his face is with Harrow. I think it's Steve Grant or whatever, when he first sees like the cult. It's like the third episode, I think. And they walk by, and Steve Grant's like, "Oh, look, it's a goat," or whatever. And Harrow's like, "Yes, that is indeed a goat." Or like, I like Harrow's the mental institution, the asylum, where he's like I like that version of Harrow the most, where he's like the doctor, and there's clearly something going on there.
That was great.
He wakes up in the institution in the end or something, but then all of a sudden Harrow is in the actual institution in the end, like the real one.
It is weird. I still have not kind of made my way all the way through it.
I mean, well, he was, so that whole thing in the institution was like a weird purgatory or something.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Mark Spector, because it was like, he was dead. Like they said, you had bullets in you. She's like, I could send you back, but you're probably going to die again because you have holes in here.
Right.
So they needed Khonshu to break Khonshu free, because he's the one that could bring Mark back to life. But okay, so throughout, and then there's like a big fight scene, and all of a sudden the next scene, like, he blacks out, Moon Knight. And all of a sudden there's just a bunch of either passed out or dead bodies, and what's his face has been incapacitated. Harrow.
Yeah.
And even the wife was like, what the hell is that? And he's like, I have no idea. And then you're like, okay, this is that third personality that they've hinted at all season. They never said his name, but they saved it. I thought the spoilers, we've been spoiling the last episode. Post-credit scene was so good.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked, now I'm curious, this would be a really interesting really interesting way of like having this personality. Again, I'm not 100% familiar in the comics, like how this character is usually portrayed, or at least modern. I know they've changed things over the years. But it'd be interesting if James Locke, so Khonshu makes a deal with Mark Spector and Steve Grant, whatever, and says, I'll release you. Like, I guess they still retain the powers of Moon Knight, or maybe they don't anymore.
I didn't think they would, but whatever. I mean, like he's going to release those two.
Yeah. And he could just, whatever, I don't know, enjoy their dual life or you know, whatever. And you're like, and I knew in the back of my head, I'm like, there's another personality.
Yeah.
Because so he could claim, yeah, I released you guys.
You two
are released.
Yeah.
But there's been another one inside of you the entire time. And maybe Khonshu created that one, always had him in the background. Well, or it's another but Mark Spector, that's another reason I guess Khonshu liked him so much, was because he had a shattered mind.
Yeah.
And I guess he could manipulate him because of that. And so Harrow, you see him in the institution, and this guy, and I knew it the minute I saw like the black shoes and like the black outfit, and I was like, that's Lockley. And then you see the jacket, and then he's wheeling him out, throws him in the car, and I loved it. It was like a mafia hit in the end, where like all of a sudden Khonshu now has like he almost has like the Mr. Knight outfit on.
Yeah.
But with just the Khonshu, like the bird head or whatever. Yeah. And then you see James Lockley. He introduces Harrow to James Lockley. And James Lockley doesn't speak English.
No, he speaks Spanish.
And it would be really funny if that's how they do. Was he speaking Spanish?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Everything outside English is just, no, I'm just kidding. It's all gibberish. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
I'm an American.
Well,
American. What?
He's speaking Spanish, and he's basically like a hitman. And he shoots Harrow.
Yeah, in the head or whatever. Yeah. You hear it. And I think it'd be kind of so you got this like weird, horrific element of like Mark Spector, like Steve Grant had no idea, but Mark Spector's not that big of a dick that he revealed himself and they worked it out. But now you could have this other personality that they're not going to be aware of. And it's someone that they might not be able to communicate well with because they speak different languages.
Oh, yeah.
So that could be like an interesting, like, that's going to be an interesting dynamic. And it would be kind of cool. I don't know if this is season 2. I would hope there's a season 2 or a movie. It'd be kind of cool if like the first episode, they basically most of the episode or whatever, one of the episodes in the new season shows you all the scenes from season 1 that had James Lockley in it. And like what he is, like do an episode of what he is. Like I said, I just find it interesting that he never showed up, but then that payoff in that credit scene, that was great. I think that just made it right there. And I love the way Khonshu looked again with where he's just like a dude in the back, like he looks like a mafia boss. And
well, I would definitely watch a season 2. I'd really like it. If they said we're just going to put Moon Knight could work well as a movie. And I think Moon Knight would probably be best as no, I haven't seen the new Doctor Strange one, but like I'd imagine it
doesn't come out till this week.
Well, I would imagine like how Wanda is going to work in Doctor Strange, or how Doctor Strange worked in a Spider-Man movie. Like Moon Knight, I think would be a great complementary character to another big character, you know. So we'll see. I didn't think I'd like the show as much as I did. I turned out to really, really like it a whole bunch.
I do. Like I said, I find it an interesting choice, though, that they really didn't mention any of the Marvel Universe, because I feel like that's always been the complaint that people have about like these bullshit like Venom movies and Morbius and that stuff, is that they don't really tie into the Marvel Universe, but Marvel has the rights to Moon Knight, and they're like, fuck it, I don't care. I just found it interesting. There's some interesting stuff though in it. So that one guy was supposed to be a major character, but he died like a couple of weeks after. Oh yeah,
I remember this. Yeah,
the show, before the show was supposed to air, that character was supposed to be this character called like I forgot what it is, like
it's a French guy, right, or something.
Yeah, I forgot what he was supposed to play. Nightman or something. Nightman is like a character from Moon Knight that's like has been a villain and his sidekick and all that stuff over the years. And I don't know if they'll I'm curious what they'll do, if they'll recast or whatever. I do find it interesting though that they decided to have Ethan Hawke play that character Harrow. Like he has other villains that were in it, and Harrow was just this guy that was in one comic, died in the same comic. I don't know, whatever. Regardless, I thought he was good. I liked Ethan. I liked Ethan Hawke in it.
He was really good.
Yeah. Someone made a joke and said that, you know, obviously in that episode when Steve calls him Ned Flanders.
Yeah.
But someone said that he actually looked like Stan Lee a lot.
I could see that.
Like, he looked like older Stan Lee, like the look and everything.
Right. No, I could see that.
It was crazy when he was like Excelsior.
Well, it was a good one. Yeah. It was a good series.
Yeah, like I said, I think like I'm sure there'll be a season 2. And like I said, I'd be shocked if like Moon Knight doesn't show up in some form in the movies, because I don't know why you would get Oscar Isaac and not, like, it would make sense to me that Moon Knight would just easily translate into a movie or something.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the advantages too is that, like, if you did want to bust Moon Knight out in some other show, he doesn't really even have to talk. You probably just put a guy in a costume and Moon Knight comes in and does something and leaves. You know, frankly.
I'm sure they would have him in there.
Yeah. Well,
all right. So I guess the
Ozark.
last thing, Ozark. So you didn't see the last episode.
No, I've watched
oh man, I don't want to ruin it. So
yeah, it's I see where it's going. I'm not spoiled for the last episode yet. It's been, I was saying before we started the show, I can't tell if this is a good show or not, but I really love it. You know, I mean, like I when I looked at Breaking Bad, it was clear it was a good show. Like, this is like, you know, a worthy drama, or like intellectually stimulating or whatever. But with like Ozark, it's just it's so awesome, but it's like so ridiculous and so over the top, you know.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think of the ending? Did you like it?
Well, I don't want to ruin anything, so I'll just wait
your
till
gut.
you see it.
Was it?
I mean, it definitely, like, the show, you know, they were going to originally cancel it because that's all Netflix does is cancel shows. Yep. Everything gets canceled. Like, they canceled that, Project 81 or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
Archive 81.
Archive 81. I mean, like, that show ended on like a huge cliffhanger and they canceled it. It'd be like Severance got canceled, you know? Like,
yeah. Well, and there's no like, Archive 81 didn't need a big budget. There's like,
no, it's bullshit. They could have gave it one more season or something. There's no reason why. It's like, that's the one thing that's, I think, turning people off Netflix. It's like, you know, it's one thing to watch like a crappy movie. You just watch a movie and that's it. You don't need to see it. Like,
right.
But when you watch these series, you're invested in them. You put a lot of time into them. They're like, some of them are like 10 hours, 11 hours, 6 hours, whatever. Yeah. And you get into it, and if you like the characters, unless the show's trash, it's a different story. But if the show's decent, and then Netflix just like, it didn't meet our algorithm or whatever. Didn't target the number we wanted, so just gonna cancel it. Like, that's not how you like grow brand, or it's like you're just a content generator. You're not really. You're a soulless content generator without understanding that things have to build. Like that guy, I think it was Eugene Levy's son from Schitt's Creek. I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong. Quote, you could probably look this up. He basically said that, like, this show was on Netflix, they would have canceled it after like 1 or 2 seasons. The only reason why you got to see like 5 or 6 seasons of Schitt's Creek was because it was on that show, that channel Pop.
Yeah, some.
And then everyone thinks it's a Netflix show because it gets popular on there. They're just streaming it. They just got the rights. They paid to it, but they didn't pay to produce it. And if it was a show that they paid to produce, they probably would have killed Schitt's Creek after a year.
So many great shows take a little while. Like, Seinfeld wasn't a big hit at first.
No. If it wasn't for Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld's one of the luckiest people who clearly was able to get people to see that he was talented, or the people that worked on the show were talented enough to nurture that show, because it really did not generate any like audience until like season 3.
Yeah.
Like season 1 was like barely, it was like only a couple episodes. The fact that it got a season 2 was like a miracle.
Yeah.
And season 2, I think, was an actual full season. And it got popular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, season 2 has some really fucking funny episodes in it. But Netflix doesn't give a shit. They're just a content generator. They're like, why are we going to invest $100 million in another season of Cowboy Bebop when we could just put on Is It Cake?
Right.
Season 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
And not spend more than $1 million.
More is lava.
Yeah, well, I don't think they brought that one back. That one was stupid. Florida Is It Cake, though? I mean, like, we're still trying to figure it out. Is it cake? But I mean, like, or The Circle. You know, like, they end up getting trapped in that kind of bullshit. But, like, I'm sorry. Like, that was the problem with, like, reality TV back in the day.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I read a big article, I think it was in Variety a couple days ago, that said basically kind of what you're saying, that Netflix is now becoming like network TV. Like they're running shows that are kind of indistinguishable from how network TV was running shows back when everyone ran away from network TV. You get a lot of like fucking live, like weird game shows and like bizarre reality stuff, and it's like becoming indistinguishable from what we all
It's just
abandoned.
on whenever you want to watch it. That's the difference. Like you don't have to tune in at 7. You can tune in whenever you feel like it and watch it on your phone in the bathroom if you want. You know, it's like
right. Well, I will say, was Ozark Netflix the entire time?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I was just say real quick that the thing at Netflix and any type of like you can crack, and this was a problem in like the early 2000s where like I'd say like the Bush years and stuff. Network TV was just getting dominated by reality shows.
Yeah.
And you were seeing less and less written dramas and comedies. You saw less of them. They were like shoving all, like there was so many of them. And you would see like, we used to be like a 5-day week full of new script written dramas and comedies turned into like 3 days of reality garbage with just like some reliable shows. But it like for a long term, that's not good for networks.
No.
Because even if like, let's say a show, Ozark, whatever, that's a prestige show. It ends up becoming a prestige show for Netflix. And that's the thing that's gonna build up your reputation. Now, most people the joke was years ago, people were like, The Office and Friends was the biggest thing. Like Netflix had so many numbers and stuff, but it was coming from people just watching The Office all day.
I know. It's weird.
You have like hundreds of episodes and people just have it on in the background at work. So Netflix thought like we have Netflix on for like 9 hours a day. Yeah, they're just running Office in the background and then they lose that content. But they're not interested in producing their own 10 years of The Office. That it's more profitable and to have the license it and just have it run. They said that was like a big dip. That like people don't realize that. Like so many people, they're not watching Ozark. They're not watching it. They're literally just watching The Office. But then Office went to Peacock because they owned it.
Right. It was like Office and Grey's Anatomy was another big one, and Friends. You're right. There's a few network shows that kind of carry it.
You're talking about like shows that had like 15 seasons, and they're like people are just plowing through them, and they're on in the background. They're not even. But Netflix doesn't give a fuck because it's like they just see it as it's streaming. We have the hours, we can show it. But you need prestige format shows. That's what builds up your brand. Yeah. And Netflix keeps. I mean, they had Stranger Things, but even that's ending. Yeah. It's only 4 seasons. It's not like the 4th season. I think they're splitting in half. Ozark, they gave it. I remember Ozark originally was canceled at season 3. After that woman's head was blown off in the end of season 3. Remember that? God. The lawyer lady, that guy. What's the main the
Omar
boss, the mafia boss, whatever you want to call him. What?
Omar. He shot.
Omar.
He had someone kill Helen. Yeah. He
like blows her head off, and the brains are all over it. Like, what's her name? What's the main girl?
Wendy.
Wendy, yeah, like she just got chunks in her.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? And then I remember hearing that the show was getting canceled. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You cannot. The people were like, you can't cancel this. Like, there was a reason why there was a long delay. COVID, of course, was one thing.
Sure.
But the other thing was they were not going to do it.
Right.
They were gonna cancel it. And I think they decided to give it one new season. It was a little longer. It was 14 episodes. They cut it in half.
Yeah.
I was glad, like, because the other 7 came out a couple months ago. And I thought they were going to make us wait a year for the other 7. And they were just like, yeah, it's coming back in like May. I was like, oh, who cares?
Well, I love the show. Like I said, I haven't seen the last one. I do think I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's a good show or not in the air quote good sense. I know that I love it and I've really enjoyed watching it. I wonder if they're like, it's weird, like the show takes place in the Ozarks basically, and what's happened very broadly is like these kind of big city people from Chicago came to the Ozark, and the Mexican cartel came to the Ozarks, and as a result, all the people in the Ozarks got fucked, like basically, you know. And I think there is kind of like a weird little social comment there on how like
Carpetbaggers.
Yeah, you know, it's a weird sort of dynamic, like all their worst fears, like these big city liberals and these
like it's like Texas, like, oh, they're gonna bring all the Californians into Texas,
right?
And it's like,
but like they just couldn't keep up. But they weren't like great people either. It's like the Snells and the I forget the other family there,
the crazy lady that killed her husband and then married
Darlene's cousin.
Yeah, what's her name? Judith? No, what's the name of the girl with the curly hair?
Darlene Snell is her name.
Darlene?
Yeah, Darlene, right?
No, is it? I have to look this up now. Ozark cast. I thought her name was Judith.
Nah, it's Darlene. I know. I just
Ruth.
Oh shoot! What is Darlene?
Oh, it's Darlene.
Darlene is the crazy older woman. That's who I was thinking.
Yeah, the one that no, it's Ruth. I want to. Okay, so
Darlene
it's
Snell, and then Ruth. What's Ruth's last name?
I don't know. I'm looking up right now. It just says Ruth.
Ruth.
I'm looking up the cast. It literally just says Ruth. Like everyone has a full name, first and last, and hers is Ruth. And then there's Rachel Jordana Spiro. I think she was like in season 1.
Yeah.
They have no last names. So there's a great scene in the beginning of the next episode. I don't want to ruin it.
Ruth Langmore.
I think you're gonna have to watch it, and maybe we'll go back and talk about it next week.
All
but it kind of plays into what you're talking about with the whole. These guys come in and they come in with their big city, whatever. They're corrupt as fuck, and they're bringing in another huge corrupt entity, which is the cartel. And then you have, I mean, it's not like these people were innocent.
No,
the lady and her husband were psychotic. They like filled a guy with like cement in his blood or something in the first episode.
All of them are terrible. There's no good guys here. You know, I mean, like I can't think of a single. All of them are terrible.
Yeah, even like Ruth, like you root for her.
You root for her, but she's terrible.
But she's not like innocent. She's like, there's all kinds of shit. They're selling drugs. I'm sorry, if you're selling like apps, like I'm not even talking about like weed, but like highly addictive,
right?
You know, like juiced apes.
Right.
Like if you're selling the slurps, they're very addictive. And everyone knows 3 slurps.
Yeah.
Got them.
Right. But there are you're right. There are no good characters. I mean, like
if you have no problem selling a highly addictive substance that destroys, that will just is not manageable. You cannot manage your life. And will destroy people's families and just literally wreck everyone's life around it. You're not a good person. I don't care.
Yeah, there aren't a ton of casual heroin users. You know?
Yeah, like I'm sure there might be very rare functional but get the fuck out of here. No. There are good parents don't usually have kids. You know, kids with good parents. The good parents usually aren't hooked on heroin.
Yeah. I'll tell you, man.
Daddy's sleeping for 9 hours. He took his heroin.
Yeah,
he was gonna rip my head off if he couldn't find it.
but it is weird. Like the people there in the Ozarks, the simple folk of the Ozarks, they all got fucked. Their entire generations of people got like destroyed, you know. But it's not like they're painted as like necessarily like victims or ever. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it too as that they just were easy prey in some way too. I mean, that's always like, alpha predator. You know, it's like when companies go to like a red state, let's say, you know, Texas, and they complain, oh, they're going to bring in like all these people. Yeah, well, maybe that says a lot about your state,
right,
and the education. I don't know. I mean, not to say the education's bad, but like, why is that? You know?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's an odd one. Great show.
Remember? Go ahead. What?
I am going to watch the last episode probably tomorrow night, and we can catch up on it next week too.
Yeah, like I said, there's a great scene, I think, and I will say I would love to see a show where Ruth, the woman who plays Ruth, what's the actress's name?
Julia Garner.
I would love to see a show, if Netflix was cool, they would do this, where Ruth teams up with Anna.
Yeah.
And they have a show together. Like it could be a comedy, like a studio.
There's a lot of people on TikTok that have done like mashups of those.
They've done Ruth and Anna together.
Yeah, like a girl will get a wig and pretend to be both of them and do like an interaction between.
Yeah, this is her like screaming at her, "You shut the fuck up!" Yeah. And she's like, "Oh God, you look like crap. Your hair looks like crap."
There was one where Ruth was looking for the remote, and she like tries to get she's like trying to get the Netflix password out of Marty and Wendy, and then Jonah the son comes and reveals the Netflix password, and the password is password 1234 mom killed Ben. Like
yeah. Oh, what's his face is great. The guy from the Waltons. And
yeah, he's real good.
He's a piece of shit.
Yep. Yeah.
I thought that was great. Did you see? Wait. So you said you saw. I'm trying to think. Was Ruth in that episode, second to last, when she talks to him?
Yeah, she forces him to reveal that he's just doing it for just to spite Wendy.
That was it. I mean, yeah. What other point was there? Because she was like, "Do you have a school for them to go? Do you have like anything? Well, their lives would not be better."
He put on a good show. Like he put on that church persona. Like I could see how he assumed other people would think the best of him. And in those scenes with him and Jonah, it looked like he was genuinely interested, and he was kind of, I think he faked it well enough so that he faked it well enough.
Element in that character who would like to think that he has his alcoholism under control, even though they show him like drinking shots and stuff. Like he had like flights or whatever you call those things, like
the little airplane bottles, like under the bed.
Like if he just has a couple of those, he's controlling his alcoholism. And like, and you know, but like Wendy, who's no good person, but she was clearly abused by him and was a shitty parent, and she's the product of it. And having a brother who was also a little nuts. It's interesting. But like I said, the ending is, I don't want to ruin anything. So it's a good episode. I like the show. So yeah, we'll just talk about it next week, I guess, the last episode.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Like I said, I think it's, again, this is what I'm talking about though with Netflix. Like, yes, for all the dumbass, like, is it cake? How many farts did I make today?
Right.
Which is really solid show. Is it a fart? It's a really good show Netflix has. Yeah. They need more shows like Ozark. They need that's what gets, I'm sorry, but like okay, so did you see Netflix dropped?
Oh yeah, considerably.
Like big time. What they lose? Like they lost like a ton of subscribers
or something.
A lot
of programming. They canceled a lot of good shows, and they're jacking up their prices and clamping down on password sharing. Like I mean, they haven't done anything good.
See, the problem is with the streamers, with the streaming, is that what made Netflix unique at the time was it was one of the, except for like Hulu, and Amazon Prime. Everything was like on Netflix. I mean, there was a point where you had all the Disney stuff on Netflix, so all new Marvel movies would show up on there, and like everything was going on. It was crazy. But now it's like the thing about these streaming services, the ones that really work, like Disney works because it's a brand and it has all its properties on top of all the Fox stuff and all the Marvel and Star Wars and like you know, even like what do you call it? Could work. Paramount could work because it owns decades of content. HBO Max works because it owns decades of content. It has it's HBO, which was always creating new content to begin with, and the HBO would invest heavily. I mean, like you had to suck to not get a second season on HBO.
If I were to start canceling services that I personally pay for, like we have Showtime, but that's my brother's channel. We don't pay for that personally. But Netflix would probably be the first one I would cancel just because it's the most expensive and it's the one I watch the least. Now my wife and kid watch Netflix all the time.
I mean, they're just trying to figure out if it's cake.
Well, and this is where I'll bet you Netflix gets a lot of viewers. My wife will watch shows that she used to watch when she was younger with my daughter. So they'll go through like 7 seasons of Gossip Girl.
Well, that's what I was talking about with The Office.
Yeah.
It was like, when
but
you found out like half the time that people were using was plowing through 10 seasons, hundreds of episodes of The Office.
But there's a lot of shows out there that are easy to forget about that have like pretty devoted fan bases. Like, and if you watch like 3 or 4, look, they're gonna watch the OC next. I forget how many seasons the OC had. I think it's like 5 or 6. If you get someone to watch 3 or 4 episodes of the OC, you might get them to watch 100. So like Dawson's Creek, Supernatural.
Yeah, isn't Buffy on there? Buffy's still on there, right?
I don't know, but like that's a good example of like there's a bunch of shows like that are on there.
But for all these streaming services that are coming out, eventually Netflix will lose that content because eventually like the contract will be up and whoever owns Buffy or Gossip Girl, all that stuff is like, well, we're just going to keep that on our platform.
True. Yeah.
Like, you know, it was like, I remember like when HBO Max came out and then all of a sudden they lost like the Harry Potter movies. And we're like, what? But it's like someone that signed a contract the year before HBO Max existed and this would be on like TBS for like 10 years.
Well, I don't know. I mean, back to Ozark though. You're right. They do need shows like that, and I don't think that they do. Or when they do, you're right. They cancel them. We watched one. Who was in it? It was basically about. I think it was about people doing cryptocurrency, and took place in Miami. Do you remember this one? There's like 3 seasons of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, we watched that, and then my wife watched the whole thing, but like in the middle of the 2nd season, I was like reading up on it, and they canceled it, and it never went anywhere. And I was like, "Fuck! If I'm gonna waste my time watching another 12 episodes of this, if it's gonna end unresolved and in a cliffhanger, like I'm not gonna do that." So I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's worse things in life, right? Like,
no, there aren't. There are. Like, oh, wait a minute. There is one.
There's one. There's a lot. And all right. So now we're starting to like change the show. We're you know, it just gonna have some music in the background. No, you don't have to do that. But like we're shifting gears, right? We're going from pop culture to
politics and news.
Yeah, not like those two ever intermingle in any way whatsoever. No. Well, it was like when some dipshit get your politics out of my.
I will say, and we're going to talk about JD Vance later on a little bit. But
speaking of Netflix,
I was going to say, well, the JD Vance thing is kind of like an Ozark type of thing. He is basically an Ozarkian that's kind of crawled out of the muck. Anyway, the big news this last week is that a draft. What was it? A draft memo.
Alito, a draft that was written by Alito, one of the right-wing judges, one of the 5 right-wing judges on the Supreme Court. Or I'm sorry, 6.
Yeah, there's 6.
6 right-wing judges.
You could Roberts does, like, today I would probably chalk him up as a right-leaning moderate.
I almost think that, like, if there was a 4th Democrat or whatever you want to call it, not Chud on the bench, I don't think Roberts would swing as much, and I think it would still be a 5-4.
I agree.
More.
Yeah, I think Roberts is Roberts probably lays awake at night terrified or frustrated that his Wikipedia page is going to begin with the lines that state he presided over the most corrupt and polarized court in history.
I don't think. You think he gives a shit?
Yeah, I do. I think he really, really cares about his legacy.
You think so?
I do. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of these people, especially on the right wing side, like they're part of that like heritage, not heritage, Federalist Society.
Yeah.
And then they're all there to serve a purpose. You know, like somebody was talking about like how maybe like Sotomayor could have a talk with like Kavanaugh.
Good
and
luck.
like yeah, exactly. It's like these people are literally put in there to dismantle these things.
This is why they came. Yeah.
Now maybe Roberts predates it a little bit. I don't know. But like Roberts was put in by Bush.
Yep.
And so was Alito. Alito was put in by Bush, and Alito is considered worse than Roberts.
Alito and Thomas are the 2 worst.
And then Trump got in, squeaked in, lost an election.
Well, you're forgetting that Obama had a Supreme Court justice denied.
Right, which I still think is I still think that's bullshit. They could have
recess appointment or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, recess 1, put someone on the bench just to have them in there, and also to fuck with McConnell. But 2, I think they could have put up a bigger fight. They could have.
I do too.
Obama could have been on TV every day,
saying
that like they're denying whatever, and
should have just cut off all federal aid to Kentucky.
Yeah.
There you go. No more free shit, Kentucky.
No more sheep fucking.
No
more sheep.
We're gonna send you several boxcars full of bootstraps. There you go.
Yep. There you go. Go raise. Yep. Go for it. Here's all the bootstraps you asked for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it was bullshit. It was like, oh, Hillary will win. I'm like, whatever. I think it was. They could have. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a disaster. And
you could have just gave even if you didn't get someone on there, you could have you could have villainized McConnell even more.
Yeah.
Villainized the GOP, and you could have looked like you actually fought, and which would have helped in the election, I think, more than not doing shit.
Trump put on 3 awful justices, and it didn't take them that long at all to revoke a constitutional right.
One of them was somebody that was shoved on while people were voting for president.
Yeah.
So McConnell gives this bullshit excuse.
Yep.
Why this absolute bullshit excuse why they won't put someone on, and that was like 7-8 months. That was like 8 months before the election.
Yeah, easily.
It was like February.
An election year. It's just during the year.
It was election year. It was like February when he literally. I remember, I was seeing Deadpool in the theater.
Okay.
And I saw right before I saw Deadpool on my phone, said Scalia died. And I thought it was really funny.
Yeah. The theater erupted in cheers.
What?
The theater erupted in cheers.
Well, I think most of them were just watching Deadpool.
Yeah. Well.
But also I was in Texas, so I don't know how
True.
I don't know how if they like Scalia or not. But yeah, they gave him some bullshit and said that there's never been a person put on during an election year, which I think is like a load of shit. Yeah. And then they don't give a fuck, and they put in Cody Bannon. And fucking what's her face drops dead in September of the election year.
Yep.
Everyone saw it coming. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and they shoved that Amy Coney Barrett lady on. Like
they had her. They announced her. Yeah, and they announced her. I don't know. Anyway, So you have a 6-3 conservative court that is just due to a weird quirk of like skullduggery from the Republicans and some different kind of strokes of luck or whatever, and they delivered a blistering report overturning the constitutional right to abortion. And in that report they mentioned a whole bunch of other things that specifically opened the door.
This is the leak you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the leak. To all sorts of other, they reference these court cases that talk about interracial marriage, same-sex marriage. Greg Abbott, I sent it to you. I don't know if you read it. Greg Abbott came out and said, well, based on this new opinion, I think we're going to go to court and see if we can deny undocumented children public education. And so it's a real bizarre thing because like there's nowhere.
I'm so happy I don't live in Texas anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter because like they've already said that it's not state by state. You know what I mean? Like
obviously if the Supreme Court has the right-wing Supreme Court has its way and does all its wish list, of course that will affect every state. Now some states will have some mechanisms that could ignore the federal in some way.
You can't though. I mean, like you can't, like if the federal court determines something, the DOJ could refuse to enforce it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like it would not be legal. Like
yeah, right. Like under a Biden presidency, they probably wouldn't enforce it. But under a Republican, whatever, DeSantis, whatever nightmare if they somehow win, they'll enforce the shit out of it.
Like if abortion is codified in the right to reproductive health care is enshrined in the Constitution of like California and Oregon and Colorado and Maryland or whatever, and then it would be up to the Department of Justice to enforce that, and that's what you see with like marijuana laws. It's still technically federally illegal to use marijuana.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like,
but
you could shut down like Colorado and any other state. If the federal want to go after it, they could shut down things.
The FBI could roll into Colorado and start arresting cannabis store dispensaries owners or whatever, but they don't. They just choose not to. But the within a day or two of this opinion actually getting delivered, for a fact that Texas or Florida or some state is going to sue and say, we're suing as petitioners on behalf of all the unborn children in Colorado and all the unborn children in California. And as Americans, we have a right to redress this. And the Supreme Court's likely to be like, yeah, son of a gun, you're right. That's the next step.
Well, I wanted to find this one thing too that people need to realize when it comes to abortion, that it is about women's reproductive health, not just rights, but health.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's a good example. Just so we're clear, the pregnancy that ends up in the wrong spot, like the fallopian tube.
Yeah, or an entopy.
The one that will never turn into a baby and will rupture and kill your wife, daughter, or sister. Terminating that fetus is also an abortion, and they want to ban those too.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing is that, like, you may have... It's kind of weird. Like, I could see... Like, Florida's a weird state. So maybe Florida and Texas are bad examples. But let's say, like, a moderate Republican state. I'm going to say, like, a socially moderate, like Ohio. Okay? So Ohio now has the ability to outlaw all abortions, right? And the Republicans are going to be kind of in a bind because, like, they may want to allow some abortions.
Well, remember, rich people can do whatever the fuck they want.
But they may want like some abortions just for a whole bunch of reasons. They may have wanted to like posture on this for a long time, but secretly been pretty happy.
Well, it's always been a carrot. It's always been a huge funder. It's interesting because it's always been a huge fundraiser drive for the Republicans as well as for the Democrats. They're going to get abortion, and we want to make sure to protect it.
Right.
And it's been just a huge red meat for both parties for decades. So it's interesting that the Republicans would just blow their load and it put this through. Now, the funny thing about this leak, which is so stupid, is how the right wing is losing their mind about the leak. They're so pissed. They're like, how'd this get out? And they demand like justice. And the best is they're saying things like the person who leaked is an insurrectionist, which I think is hysterical.
I'm not even
coming from the January 6th people.
Most people are not even sure it's a crime. You know what I mean? Like,
like they said Roberts was investigating it, but then the other rumor is that the court leaked it themselves as a distraction so that people would be upset now, and then when it does go through, most people have forgotten most of the, which I think is insane. I don't think people are going to forget.
Well, I've heard that like someone like Alito, who penned this and maybe had like a few of the other justices kind of on board, but not 100%, that he leaked it to kind of lock in their votes. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, totally.
Well, it is an odd one, but like it
you would need two of them to vote against it because it's a 6-3 right-wing court.
Right. Like let's just say in a perfect world, Roberts is like, well, you're going too far. You would still need one more.
And I just don't, I mean, you're not getting Alito, obviously.
Nope.
You're not getting Thomas.
Nope.
He's just a rotten bastard.
Right.
You're probably not getting what's her face either, because she's a fucking cultist weirdo.
Yeah, Tony but Barrett she would be the
definitely not.
She'd be the most likely of the remainder. Maybe Kavanaugh. I don't know.
I don't think no. Fucking, she will be on board with voting it out. Yeah. She was put there specifically to get rid of Roe v. Wade, so that the Republicans say, "Look, we had a woman did it." It's not a men thing. It's both sexes. It's not a No, that is 100% why she's on there.
It is weird though. Like
she's the last person in the world that will. And I think you see all these people like they lied under the bench. I'm like, duh, you didn't see that coming. Yeah. They all lied. But she was the one that would not say it outright.
Yeah.
That Roe was a protected thing. She would not. I'm positive she did not. Unlike the other ones who said it was law.
I'm really upset about that. And like all the people I've talked to, everyone has said what you said basically. Like, well, what do you expect? I don't know. I mean, like.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We talked about her when she was going on. I always knew that she's from like a weird. They tried selling her as like a Catholic. And then it was found out
she's from like a weird cult.
She's in some like Gilead religion. Like it's not even like a normal Catholicism. It's like it's literally like a cult. It's like I think it's like Mel Gibson's dad or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's like half Catholicism's too liberal. Like,
it's a weird inflection point though, because unless I'm wrong, and I don't think I'm wrong here, I don't think the statistics are wrong. The vast majority of Americans want access to abortion. You know what I mean? Like
Republicans don't give a fuck what the majority of people want.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, theoretically, this should be a big issue. You know, this should be an issue that causes a blue wave in the polls.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's only May. If this came out in October,
well,
I think the Dems would keep the House and Senate.
It still isn't coming out until the summer, and then the timing of this is fine, you know, because
no, I'm glad it leaked because we knew it was going to happen. And it's like, what are you upset? Wait, you're upset about the leak, or you're upset about the fact that everyone knows that you guys plan on doing all kinds of horrible things?
That's another. My brother and I were talking about trying to figure out like who the leaker was tonight, and one of the things I thought was that this could just be
Alito.
Well, it could be him. You know, I mean, it's just as likely to be him as anyone else. But I was like, you know, it's entirely possible that you have some clerk or some person on the staff of the Supreme Court that's like, this should be out in the open, you know, and that could be a person for or against it. But
everyone should be aware that this was going to happen. Like none of this is like no shit news. Like it's just like
it is kind of ironic that they're eliminating the right to privacy, and they're pissed off that their privacy was invaded. Like,
right, yeah. Well, that's the irony right there. But also, like, these are the same assholes that were like saying that Elon's going to bring free speech back and all that. These people, they're not. I always find it funny. Like, I remember hearing like Rogan say, like, yeah, it's kind of weird how the right became like the free speech people and the left became the opposite. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? The right has never been a free speech party. They want to have free speech and like they want to say all the awful things they want to say to people, but they don't want anyone that doesn't agree with them to have any fucking say. They don't want them to have say anything. Talk about fucking being canceled. I almost lost my fucking Instagram account recently because I posted that artwork of the if you don't like abortion, cut off your dick.
Right.
And they were like, it was taken down twice because I had it in a story, and then other people posted it and they got taken down. I'm like, where's my free speech? I was kidding, of course.
Right.
All these idiots were like, you should go on Twitter. I'm like, well, first of all, Elon Musk does not own Twitter.
Right.
You want to buy it. He doesn't own it. So, and again, right. Do you think a billionaire wants you to have free speech? Are you that dense? Like,
well, it does seem weird. Like, and this is like me putting on my tinfoil hat for a minute, that like you had, if you look over the last like 6-7 years, you had that Cambridge Analytica Facebook shit, and you've had all this like weird Russian collusion with the Trump people, and
it really came to a head with Ukraine. Like a lot of these guys got really exposed, like whose side they're on.
And then you had over all of this stuff, you had all these like judges installed. And then you had like a literal insurrection, the armed insurrection at the Capitol. And then you had this like a crazy, I think that's why they leaked it, maybe, is because like they wanted the attention on the leak, not the fucking earthquake decision. Like, oh, we just get to redecide cases we don't like anymore. Like that. And then you have like Elon Musk perhaps buying Twitter. And it just seems like all these things are happening kind of like...
Oh, they're happening in tandem.
Yeah, right. Like they're related.
They hate Twitter.
Right.
They don't hate Twitter because, they don't get the whole dead naming trans people and all that. I mean, that's a disgusting affront on people. But the reality is they hate Twitter because anyone can expose people on there and get information out there. I mean, they don't want an Arab Spring here.
It's just weird. Like all of these things are happening at once, and they're all like big monumental things.
Well, it's called shock and awe. I mean, that's an actual thing. Shock and awe is where you have one thing. I mean, that's kind of like, I don't know if you remember, like when Trump became president, every day there was something hard, like literally the first month of his presidency, every day there was something horrific on top of, like, it just never ended. Like, remember they like the Muslim ban in the airports?
Right.
And it was like chaos. It was like, what? Out of nowhere. And they were just putting in all kinds of crazy, like, and like, this is shock and awe. You confuse the populace and you weaken people. And then you can go in and do whatever the fuck you want.
It just feels like, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean this, but I know it sounds like I'm being stupid about it. But it sounds like, the end of the Republic. You know what I mean? Like,
it's definitely going in that direction. But the problem is, again, it's like we have a Democratic majority Congress. We have I would say a soft Democratic majority Senate. We have the presidency. And it feels like, I see like Eric Swallow, like, make sure to vote. How about you do something now?
Right.
I mean, like, yes, we should vote. I agree. Anyone who says don't vote or whatever, those people suck, and you shouldn't listen to them. You damn well vote in November, and you make sure a Republican does not take over. But that does not excuse for the fact that they have power. They need to wield it. Yeah. They were supposed to codify Roe during the Obama administration. They didn't. You had 8 years to do it. They refused to do it. Fuck it. What do you have to lose now? Do it now. Now is the time to do it. Because they're actually going to take it away.
Yeah, you can start doing things via executive order, but they could get with the U.S. Post Office, just like they gave out free COVID tests, and say like, hey, you know what? We're offering the morning after pill or the abortion pill or whatever.
That pill that woman took on that TikTok. Remember that lady? That was so good. That she's like, when she was on that interview, debating that anti-abortion lady, and then she's like, and the guy
Oh,
who did the
yeah.
interview is all confused. They're like, wait, what? What did you
Yeah,
do?
she just pops it. She's
I just basically had an abortion right here, and that woman's face was like,
that
reaction
was-
was like,
well, yeah, like Biden could say, look, new executive order. Anybody wants one, we'll mail it to you. Just let us know, and hey,
yeah, that's not going to
what?
happen.
These things are good on your shelf for 12 years or whatever.
It's like Nancy Pelosi's daughter was tweeting something, and I said, hey, you ever heard of Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah.
She's tweeting about like the rights of women and all that stuff. And then you hear stories about like recently, like Nancy Pelosi's like backing some candidate in the Democratic Party who's literally anti-choice. And it's not like there isn't a pro-choice like, oh, this is like a super red state and we need to like protect this seat. No, it's not that extreme. And it's like, you can't, I'm sorry. I'm so sick of this. Like, I would hear like Bill Maher say that bullshit too, like, or Chris Matthews, like, oh, why can't a Democrat be pro-life or something? I hate that term, first of all. There's no such thing as pro-life. These people are pro.
Oh, there is
such
thing as pro-life. Once a kid is born, you can do all sorts of things.
They don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I will agree. Fine. I'll agree with you. I will say you're pro-life if you're one against the state sponsored executions of people.
Yep, death penalty.
I'll agree with you. I'll say, sure, you're pro-life if you're for welfare
Universal
programs
healthcare.
and providing food for children and good education. And also you're for sex education and prophylactics and all that stuff. That helps actually reduce abortions. I would say, you know what? That person's pro-life.
Yeah.
But usually these fucking dickheads are not. And they're usually pro-choice. They're usually anti-choice. They're usually pro-gun. They're usually pro-death penalty. Fuck those people.
Yeah, it is strange. I don't know. Well, one thing is, I think most people are kind of like scandalized by the leak right now, and I don't think enough people are really like looking at this decision, like how crazy it is, because like,
well, it's also the beginning, because they're going to go after gay marriage, they're going to go after other women's rights.
Even if, and conservatives don't think this way, but even if you are all for this, right, and you really want to end abortion, this is bad for two reasons. And the first reason is that this will not end abortion. They get that real clear when they talk about guns, like, hey, if you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns. Well, if you outlaw abortion, outlaws will have abortions. You'll just have made a bunch of people outlaws. They're still going to have abortions. So it's not really going to do anything to decrease the number of abortions. Not really.
Well, it will decrease the number of abortions because people won't have, not many people have access to it. So it does reduce it. Kind of like with the whole gun laws. Like, yeah, they claim that guns, but that's bullshit because the statistics to prove that gun violence goes down greatly over a decade.
Well, that's
abortions will go down.
It may
will still exist.
Well, there's some recent studies lately that have suggested that abortions have not declined that dramatically.
Well, the other crazy thing too is again, if the states that they're in don't provide education, like these people, they go on the school boards, they want to make sure that people don't learn. They say like they should learn at home. Who's teaching them at home? Like they're not. That's why it's like, I love it. They're like, you're not going to indoctrinate my kid, and then like their kid gets indoctrinated in some other bullshit.
The second thing why conservatives shouldn't be cheering this is that eventually there will be a liberal majority on the Supreme Court. It may not be this year or next year. It may not be for 50 years, but it'll eventually happen.
Well, those people don't give a fuck because a lot of these people will be dead in 20 years.
But they can just look. Shit changes quickly. Like weird things happen. I didn't think Scalia was going to die when he did. I mean, he died relatively young.
I don't know, man. I saw that guy. I was like, dude, that guy looks so healthy.
You could theoretically get
he was like
a liberal Supreme Court soon, or you could get a liberal state court or whatever. Anyway, if the new rule is you can just redecide shit, then that opens up a lot of grounds.
Yeah, of course.
And you could have Supreme Courts in different states open up a lot of grounds. And just like Texas is going to sue Texans that travel to California for an abortion.
That's insane.
You could have people in Colorado. Okay, we got a new law. If you used a gun and you bought that gun in Texas, we can sue the state, or we can sue the gun manufacturer. Or we can sue.
Wasn't there a huge lawsuit against a gun company recently that actually?
Yeah, there was, and it did go through.
That's like a big deal because they protect those gun companies. Was it
Colt
like,
or something?
They get away with everything.
It was like Remington or Colt. It was a big company, but it just the notion that you can change course destroys the stability of the country.
Do you think these clowns care?
I don't think they see it.
I think their voters are so brain fried by right-wing media that, like, look what they did with COVID. Look at their response to COVID. They didn't give a fuck. And to this day, they'll say 1 million people didn't die. And it was all fake. It was some globalist, fucking, what's that guy's name they use all the time? The boogeyman. Soros sponsored, Bill Gates, the billionaires they don't like. Do you see that couple on the plane? And the lady was like praising Musk. And the lady was like praising Musk.
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck those people. Those people got like, I think it's like no fly list forever. Like,
well, they named them. Their last name is Kelly, and they live in like Essex Falls, New Jersey, or something. Like they're. That
doesn't shock me.
No. Well, it's just a weird thing, and I think once the dust settles, because there's still a lot we don't know about it, once the dust settles and once people start talking about it, and now a lot of Republicans are going to reveal their next steps. Like, well, next we need to look at, like Greg Abbott said, we need to look at, do we really need to educate the children of undocumented immigrants?
And it's like, that just opens the doors to, do we need to educate like Jewish people? Well, do we need to educate women?
You're going to have that.
What?
You're going to have stuff like that. And the next one would be like, well, we don't need to recognize gay marriage anymore. And
I think that one is just crazy. I'm like, that's good. Well, the thing is, what they said will happen is they'll do something to it where, again, you'll have gay marriage in like New York, Colorado, California, Washington, or stuff like that. But then other states will be able to put in bullshit that will allow them. But they just
decided that like 6 years ago.
What?
Like that's a real recent decision from the Supreme Court.
But a lot of people have been married since then. There's a lot of families and a lot of weddings that people went to.
You're going to see it will happen.
Though. I just don't. I think that the culture shifted too much for that. I just think like. The abortion thing is a weird thing because
that's true.
It's like one, which is fucked up, doesn't affect everyone, unfortunately, even though it should affect everyone, regardless of sex. But the other thing is not everyone's getting one all the time. Like it's a procedure that some people need. And again, like the fallopian tube thing, which is insane that would still be classified as an abortion. It's that, and I would love to see some of these MAGA chud fucks who like find out their daughter or their wife, whatever, it's gonna die because they're gonna be explained. They're gonna tell the doctors got to explain we can't do anything about it because the Supreme Court and the state outlawed it, and they'll be like, wait, so my kid's gonna die, and they'll be like, it's like that idiot that like after Trump won, and the guy's like, you better, I don't care about Obamacare, but you better not take away my ACA.
Right.
And they'll be like, that's the same thing.
Well,
you're just an idiot. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the gay marriage thing, I think that's just like, I don't know. I mean, I think that'd be really messy.
Yeah.
I think that, like, it was like Dan Crenshaw tweeted some bullshit the other day about like, if you don't like abortion or something, adopt or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, so you're okay with like LGBT people adopting? Like, do you remember when Pete Buttigieg and his husband adopted those kids? Man, the nasty shit the right wing was saying about them.
Well, you see
all kinds of nasty shit. And I was like, I know people on the left so-called don't like this guy or whatever, but you should really pay attention to the language that they're using. Because this is an attack on gay people. This isn't an attack on Pete Buttigieg. It's an attack on all gay people that have kids.
That gay marriage is like a done deal. I mean, like, look at what went on in Florida and the don't say gay.
Yeah, but look at like the kerfuffle that it caused.
But they did it anyway. and it passed.
They did it, but
And
it's
that
still
was law.
there's still. I'm saying that like the more things like that happen. Okay, so now you go after women. That's one thing. Then you go after gay marriage. It's another thing. And then you start going after more things. It's gonna be fucking chaos. You can't.
Well,
It's one thing when 50 years ago you didn't have these things, but when you give people rights and then you try to take it away, that gets real fucking messy.
If that's true, then this decision should signal a blue wave in the midterms.
You think so, but again, remember, and this is a fact that cannot be ignored, because if it's ignored, then people are fucking dumb. And the Republicans in almost all red states, and probably some purple states, put in voter suppression laws that will make it harder for people to vote.
Yeah, but like that works really well in congressional races and stuff like that. But in a state race, it shouldn't matter.
It will affect the state race. Hell yeah, of course it will. If you have okay, so Texas is a good example. Houston, it's a strong Democratic population in Houston, and if they did it in 2020. Some shithole town in Texas, Gurgle Butt, Texas, got the same amount of voter drop-offs like Houston did.
Well,
except Gurgle Butt has like 50 people, and Houston has millions of people.
Yeah, then people should be, the DOJ or the OCR or something like that should be monitoring that shit up front. You know what I mean?
I don't know what to say about it. I'm just saying that the reality is people need to be aware.
Yeah,
the Republicans put in strong voter suppression tactics. They spent all 2020. They spent all 2021 putting in any anti-trans or anti-whatever bill, anti-abortion, prepping for this year, and then to top it off, they put in voter suppression bills that will make sure that they can gain power. And then.
Well, I'll tell you, and I know like this is a kind of a bullshit example just due to the privilege of, you know, where I live and all that kind of stuff. But we have an election currently, and I was able to vote during early voting, and the polls were open 7 days a week, you know, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I was able to go in and I voted, and it was no big deal. People can still vote. You know, I mean, like I know that
you're in that's considered I wouldn't say like it's considered an upper class area, that town.
Yeah.
And you're also an older, more educated person. You have a job that is somewhat more I would say a little more lenient, right? You can
I just voted after work one day, but yeah, if I needed to, they'd be fine. I could just be like.
But you also have access to get to the voter poll. You're really close to it. There's lots of different voter locations actually by you, because you are in a more well-to-do area, more that is designed. That's probably leans a little more conservative,
right?
And is the predominantly white.
Oh yeah. Well, so, I mean. Like I said,
that's the recipe right there. And
that's what I said about like me being like living in a privileged situation or whatever. However, and I'm not sure how this will come out exactly, but like these are existential threats, you know, and I've seen footage of people like being sprayed down with fire hoses, and I've seen people like being attacked by police dogs. And I've seen people do like all sorts of brave shit to go vote, you know.
Well, it's like,
and it's possible.
Yeah, of course it is. I'm not saying it isn't, but again, you know, we also live in a time where people are more distracted by bullshit.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of strong voices out there that push cynicism, anti-voting, like even on Twitter, like the day when that judge thing, the Supreme Court thing, I saw all these people like talking shit about Democrats, mostly just talking shit about Democrats. Like, and it's like there's different ways to look at it. Like, okay, no, you should vote. Hell yeah. Because voting for Democrats will make sure that all this shit doesn't happen. Or if it does in any way, it ensures that if Democrats are in charge, the next Supreme Court justice will be, which could be a year from now or a couple of years from now, will go to a more progressive person. And then the court becomes more balanced. And then you can, like, we are literally in, most of voting is harm reduction. We want more stuff.
Right.
Shouldn't just be only harm reduction. It's bullshit. Shouldn't just be that. But that's where we are right now. It's harm reduction.
Well, I am curious to see what the midterms look like. If the Democrats still lose seats, like, I don't know. I mean,
I think unfortunately they're going to lose seats in Congress no matter what, because again, one of the things the Republicans did in all 2021 was fuck with the districts. They used Trump's fucked up another horrible thing that happened during the Trump administration. These 4 years were very integral. One of them was the census.
Yeah, that's true.
The entire time that he was president, but the census, they tried fucking with it. And the census serves a purpose now. It's like, well, this area doesn't need a congressperson anymore.
Yeah.
And that congressperson probably would have been a Democrat or something that represents that area. Or they fuck with it and they take like three districts and they remove one and merge, and then all the what would have been like a nice healthy blue area, or whatever you want to call it, now is sandwiched in between a bunch of red districts, and you don't have any representation anymore. That they got absorbed. So you're gonna, unfortunately, the Democrats are gonna lose seats just by that alone, regardless of election or not. Like, they just fucked with it. But speaking of the midterms and local yokel, very real hillbilly man, super real, not fake at all in any way, not a product of a .com of a Silicon Valley billionaire in any way. A true original man of the salt of the earth.
Right.
JD Vance won the I was really rooting for JD Mandel, though. I really wanted JD Mandel.
JD Vance looks like if Ben Shapiro and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man went into the fly chamber. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah, they had a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Ben Shapiro fucked the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and out came JD Vance.
He's terrible. His we were talking earlier today. I read that Hillbilly Elegy book. And it was
just a bootstrap book, right?
It's a bootstrap book. And basically his shtick was he blamed, part of it is he was blaming poor whites for their own problems, and that got him a pass from a lot of liberals at the time, if I remember right.
Well, they like to, I could see that.
Yeah, because he was basically, he didn't go about it like, look, the more common hillbilly elegy is the people from Mexico moved in and took our jobs, and he didn't do that necessarily. Or he would be like, you know, you'd hear the normal hillbilly complaints were something different, and he was basically saying like, we got lazy and we need to bootstrap our way back into the economy. And
it's not anyone, none of the people going, oh, I could outsource your job, or your coal is dying industry, or like, no, it's none of that. It's the people's fault. It's like a corporation telling people that on Earth Day that they need to recycle.
Well, it was just and I will say, like, I like that kind of book. I mean, like, I read a lot of books like that at the time. And I didn't think much of it. You know, I thought like, look, this guy's probably a conservative asshole. I don't like him, but like, at least he's contributing some insight into this world, you know.
But was he? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
But then he was at first like real anti-Trump, but then he sold his soul and got on the Trump train, and now he's a little chud, you know.
Well, didn't he try to sell that bullshit? You need to understand the Trump voter or something.
That's
pushing that bullshit.
Yeah.
So that's still like a form of Trump supporting in some way, because you're like, one, what you're doing is you're trying to make liberals or progressive feel bad, or make them the bad guy. Like, you need to understand the Trump voter. Like, what do you mean I need to understand them? That they're easy prey to con men? Like,
well, that's the thing, is that like I 100% believe that we should understand them, but that's not what people mean when they say that. They mean we should empathize, we should feel the way they feel.
Or we should just shut up and shut
Yeah.
our little latte drinking liberal mouths. That's what they're saying. Like
Right.
they're saying we don't know anything, and you think you're better than us, or it's that bullshit. But it's like, dude, you're falling for a horrible con man. So that's what we see. They try to, it's like playing into, like, they know that, like, people who are liberal or whatever are gonna fall for, like, moral traps more.
Yeah, for sure.
Normal right wingers don't give a fuck about. They don't think once about. They don't care. They don't give a shit. Liberals, they get sucked into it. We get like suckered into it. It could work. Sometimes it's real. Sometimes it's a con. Right. And in JD Vance's case, it was a huge con. It was such a con that, like, that movie that came out on Netflix, I didn't even watch it. It got panned.
I heard it was terrible. Yeah.
But it was like produced by, like, Ron Howard, who's like a huge progressive.
Yeah. Well,
or his company produced it.
I would have to go back and reread it, I guess, or kind of like
look at it different eyes.
Well, I remember when Hillbilly Elegy came out, not having a terrible reaction to it, but like at the time, I mean, it was a different world, and I didn't see it.
You know more about the author now too.
Yeah, and I didn't see it as a political book. I saw it as like this is my experience, and I'm trying to kind of explore my world, and like, I don't know, I'm pretty cool with that. Like,
wasn't the joke is that that's not really even his world or something?
No, he went to, like, the person who helped him get the book published was his contract law professor at Harvard or Yale. I mean, like, oh
man, that's super salt the earth. Harvard? Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. The Harvard swamp, right? Swamp.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, I think that's the shtick of a lot of these people, is that they go to a Harvard or a Yale or whatever, and they don't feel like they're getting the recognition they deserve. So they get pissed off at Harvard or Yale, and then they make their bones rebelling against it,
We're also selling a product too.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, if you're trying to, like, sucker people into, like, thinking that you're on their side, you talk shit about you'll talk shit about the institutions of the elite when you were, like, a part of it, and you're still a part of it.
Well, he goes against Tim Ryan, and Tim Ryan won his primary very, very handily. And JD Vance came in at like 32%, and his next highest challenger was like 20-something%. So he kind of limped over the finish line in Ohio.
So it wasn't a majority win.
No, but he was running against 3 or 4 different candidates.
Yeah, but if he was good enough, it doesn't matter. He could have, like, clobbered them and got like 60%.
Yes, and he didn't. So I don't know. I always have a shitty feeling.
I saw Tim Ryan's already going out. Literally that day, he was posting stuff about Peter Thiel, because JD Vance is just a product of a Silicon Valley billionaire. Peter Thiel. All those guys are. Joe Rogan's a product of Peter Thiel. All of them. Andrew Yang was a Peter Thiel product.
Yeah, I will say, Tim, this is the best possible. I'm not saying they're going to win, but this was the best possible outcome for Democrats, because Tim Ryan looks like a decent guy, and he's been in Ohio for a long time, and he's genuine. He comes across as like,
I know he's supposedly like a more conservative Democrat.
Yeah, he is
supposedly. But, like, I think Sam Cedar brought up a good point years ago. One of the big contenders of going against Nancy Pelosi in the House was always Tim Ryan. Yeah. And he said that he doesn't agree with everything that a lot of stuff that Tim Ryan stands for or whatever. But the difference between him and Nancy Pelosi is that he felt like Tim Ryan was a bulldog and a real fighter, and that the Democrats as a whole in the Congress would be a better, a stronger party with him in charge of the House than Pelosi, who's just like some old rich lady that fucking doing weddings for, like,
dabbles
billionaire oligarchs. Remember that wedding? She was happy as fuck. She was with her people. I mean, like,
well, Tim Ryan's not. You're right. Tim Ryan's not like that, and I think that he's got a real shot in Ohio. And I think this is.
I would hope. If JD Vance wins and beats Tim Ryan, then Ohio I think it's a waste of time. I think Ohio, just like Florida, is a waste of time for Democrats, and they need to just focus on the other 3 Rust Belt states.
Yeah, Pennsylvania,
all the time, and maybe concentrate on like North Carolina or something instead.
Well, JD Vance is very unlikable. He looks awful. He looks like you should punch him in the face.
He just looks
he's real disingenuous. He like was bashing Trump and now he loves Trump, and then like he's not real, you know.
I think someone just has to like read up on him a bit, and they would learn that he is a phony.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff he's published and written. You could paint him.
Is he even from Ohio?
I think he is. I think he's either from Ohio or Missouri.
Somebody, I think one of the things Tim Ryan posted too was like JD Vance's home.
Yeah.
That this is where he really lives, but it was like Peter Thiel's house in like the Highlands.
Oh, that's funny. He was born in Ohio. Yeah, Middletown, Ohio. JD Vance.
Okay.
So I mean, like he is what he is. I mean, like there's the germ of a good story in there.
Listen, a chud wants to vote for JD Vance because JD Vance going to say, I'm going to get rid of abortion, and
right.
I'm going to get rid of gay marriage, and I'm going to get rid of the woke mob. And someone's that dumb enough to fall for that shit, you're not getting them as a voter.
Well, I'll tell you, Alabama had Doug Jones, who was a legit good
Doug Jones won by the skin of his teeth because every black person in that state voted against literally they all came out, and he went against a pedophile basically.
Yeah,
like he won by literally 1%. Doug Jones,
but like Tommy Tuberville, who
in football
is literally got the IQ of a potato.
So does most of Alabama, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to Alabama, but you voted for Tommy Tuberville, so
yeah.
I mean, you get who you vote for. I mean, Doug Jones won by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, true.
We lost Al Franken to get Doug Jones.
Yeah.
We lost Al Franken Al Franken was forced to resign because it happened around the same time as Doug Jones, and the last thing they needed was any kind of scandal that would take, and the media, the corporate media would totally focus on the more sensational, having funny photos of Al Franken pretending to grab a woman's breast is way more hysterical than the idea of a creepy old man. What's that guy's name? What was his name again? Roy Moore, who doesn't have photos of him trying to grab a woman. It was so much more sensational. And it was a total hit job by Roger Stone, Sean Hannity. That woman worked for Sean Hannity.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a complete hit job. What's her face though sucks for allowing Gillibrand, one of the strongest voices, to kick Al Franken out of the party or out of the Senate.
And I'm mixed. I like her sometimes, but that was pretty unforgivable.
I don't really care for her because I know a lot about her. I remember when she took over Hillary Clinton's seat. She was a more conservative Democrat. She was like from upstate New York. She's become more progressive over the years, but I don't know. I mean, she's fine, whatever. But that was bullshit. But Doug Jones won by 1%.
Yeah. That
it took just a couple more people to realize, hey, maybe we shouldn't elect a pedophile into a disgusting. I mean, I don't know, there were like tons of accusations. Supposedly he wasn't even allowed around a mall or something crazy like that, which I thought was insane. Well, I'm like, what? You can't go to a mall because he was that big of a creep.
You're right that Al Franken did lose his seat because of that photograph where he was kind of like joking around, doing like. It was during,
and the funny thing, it was all around he would always talk about it. He would go and do like the Bob Hope style show for
USO type of shows,
for the troops. Now the thing is that the Al Franken thing, the problem was there was other things starting to come out.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't just her. Her was bullshit, but there was I take it back. I'm not gonna say hers was bullshit. The reason why I say it's bullshit was because she was working with Sean Hannity, she was working with Roger Stone. Clearly, it was a hit job, but there were supposedly other things coming out about him. But it's like Dude, the guy was insane live in the 70s.
Photographs can get you in trouble, and we've seen that lately.
Oh, what do you mean?
There was a photograph.
Where's this going, Jess?
A while ago of Madison Cawthorne,
young man,
in
true patriot.
Yep,
a true patriot.
And I think the first one that came out was like he had his hand on another guy.
No, that wasn't the first one.
Oh, you're right. The first one was him in drag.
Party.
Yeah. He
was like in drag or something.
He was in a dress and he had makeup on and kind of clip-on earrings and like some lingerie and stuff. And that came away. Yeah,
well,
and like, look,
where did it? But remember where it really started was a couple of weeks, like a month ago. He went on some right-wing podcast or whatever, and he started talking about like he brought up orgies, so like that he was invited,
coke and hooker orgies.
Yeah, that were Republicans, and he made a claim and said that these were like. He tried to make a claim and say these are the Republicans that want to like reduce like prison sentences and like make drug laws go lax on them. And it was like, okay, this sounds like bullshit. Like you're trying to sell some conservative bullshit. Like these people are trying to. I'm the true conservative. I think we need to go heavy on drug offense and whatever.
Yeah.
But that got out. And then all of a sudden he had like a conversation with McCarthy, and he looked like he was crying. Like McCarthy's had conversations with other Marjorie Taylor Greene, all these other clowns.
Yeah.
And I think he doesn't give a fuck about that. He's like, whatever. These people, like, that's what the party is. But this one, he seemed pissed, genuinely pissed back. Because he was like, Madison, I invited you to that party.
Right.
That was at my house.
Right.
He was personally pissed. But then the first thing, I think it was like, the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing happened with the, whatever happened to that testimony when she had to she didn't remember anything. Did anything come out about that?
No. But
all of a sudden that day, like, I think that's when the images of him in drag popped up. It was a couple weeks ago. And then shortly after was the video, whatever, of him, either the guy or he was grabbing. It was one or the other. Either he was getting his.
It looked like the passenger in the car put his hand on Madison's junk,
and he seemed to be okay with it.
And
again, listen, that's great. You like dick, Madison? Go for it. The problem with this though is that you attack LGBTQ people
all the time.
You're a transphobe.
Yep.
So you don't deserve any sympathy whatsoever.
But then today a video was released,
like a more incriminating one.
Yes, right? And it was, and I haven't seen the video. I haven't
seen it either. I just heard about it
in posts. I've seen clips, not clips of the video, but like a screenshot, I suppose. And Madison, it appears to be Madison Cawthorne, fully naked, smacking some other dude with his junk in the face. And it's like a lot of people are saying, like, look, this is sexual assault, or this is some pretty hardcore.
Well, he got in before he was elected.
Yeah,
a whole bunch of shit came out about him of being like assaulting women or
sexual
something.
Predator, yeah.
Because the thing was, he only recently lost the use of his legs. It wasn't only like a few years ago.
Yeah. He, I think it was a drunk driving accident or something. I don't know. Anyway, but I don't remember that part. But anyway, this guy who is like a very staunch conservative, anti-gay rights,
He was part of the January 6th insurrection. He recently divorced his wife.
Who was a Russian asset.
Who supposedly was like a Russian bride, pretty much. Or, right? Is she from Russia?
Right. It is unbelievable. All the shit that's come out on this guy. He's
only like what, 25, 26 years old? He's like the youngest
that's
guy.
Right. In one of the photographs, he was like, "This is a youthful indiscretion."
Well,
and people were like, "That dude, that was 2 years ago." That was
that's right. They're like, "Dude, you're like, that was literally like last week." He's tweeting like A new hit against me dropped years ago in this video. I was being crass with a friend, trying to be funny.
Right.
We were acting foolish and joking. That's it. I'm not backing down. I told you there would be a drip drip campaign. Blackmail won't win. We will. And I wrote, it's okay if you like dudes, bro. What's not cool is that you participated in a violent coup attempt on and are a little Nazi piece of shit that backed the invasion of the Ukraine. You're also a massive hypocrite for attacking LGBTQ people. Resign.
Yeah.
Like,
it's stunning that they. I mean, I know you were saying earlier today that he's probably going to be gone soon, but like,
I could see. I think. Well, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's just stunning that he's not gone already. Like.
Well, look at Matt Gaetz. Guy is literally his partner, who's now in jail for sex trafficking, and he was on the Venmo.
Right.
And he's there. He's going on. He's touring with Miss QAnon all the time.
Yeah.
Marty Taylor Green. Like, this one's a great one. This tweet from this person, Edward Guesso Jr. Madison Cawthorne has to go scorched earth right back and start naming names. Who invited you to those orgies, brother? Who is doing coke in front of you? You're already losing this upcoming race. Blow this shit up, my guy.
Well,
I mean, fuck it. Now, if I was Madison Cawthorne and he's going to lose, he's probably just going to save for a book because.
Yeah. Well, the
guy worked for a talent agency, right?
He was another one that was in that
Explore Talent,
just like Bobert. And you're right. He is a good-looking guy.
He's a dreamboat.
He's a good-looking guy.
I didn't say anything. You're like, yeah, you're right. He's a good-looking guy. I'm like, did I say he was? Yeah, sure, I guess.
He could really make a go of it. Prior to some of this stuff, I thought he could have made a go of it. But like,
he's a guy who would be. He's a good-looking guy, but he's not interesting enough, or probably even a good actor. He would just be like someone in the background in like a Ryan Murphy show on Netflix, one of those shitty shows he did, or he'd be like in the background on like a CW show. Maybe he'd get like a line or two.
He'd be like guy number 3 in a Mentos commercial.
Probably just be in a bunch of really shitty like Christian films.
Yeah,
honestly,
with Sorbo.
That's more than likely. Yeah, with Sorbo and what's his face shows up in those movies, which I always find funny. There's a whole bunch of actors like that. What's his name? The guy from like Star 82.
Oh.
He has a famous sister. From pretty was it Working Girl? No, I don't know what the fuck. I can't even name. Like my brain just melted.
Yeah, I am like drawing a blank on this.
Working Girl. The woman was a prostitute with Richard Gere. What's that?
Julia Roberts.
Yeah, well.
Eric Roberts. What is
Eric Roberts? He's like one of these guys who will like star in all kinds of movies, and then he'll be in like some shitty like Christian film with Kevin Sorbo.
Weird. Okay, yeah.
I guess the guy he's gotta work, man. You know, he's a working actor. He's gotta take it where he can get it, you know.
There's a guy on TikTok that does reviews of Christian movies, and they're always good. Like they all revolve around a plot like this girl is like 28 and she's never kissed someone because she's saving herself for marriage. And then like
yeah, I could see that's what Madison Cawthorne would have been. He would have been in like a bunch of really shitty like Christian films. This guy's like a fake. He was, you know, a product, Trump product in 2020. But I think that person in that tweet brings up a good point. Hey, fuck it.
Yeah.
At this point, bring it up. Blow it all up. That would be amazing.
It is. I mean, like, you have to figure.
I saw Lindsey Graham do coke off of a 20-year-old man's asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
right. He probably does have a lot of dirt. He probably does. What? He probably does have a lot of dirt.
I mean, I think if any of it got out, I think Madison Cawthorne would have had an accident.
Yeah.
That they would have recreated Mac and Me. Look over the Brian clip.
Yeah.
Except instead of Mac and Me, the alien, remember the alien's head pops up? It's like Bobert.
Yeah. Bobert.
It's like kid falls in the water and the alien's like stupid head pops up.
Well, I don't know. I do know though that like James Carville, who I sometimes love and sometimes don't love, he's
animated and says funny things. So
yeah, he's got good instincts sometimes. You know, he's been saying lately, like, you just gotta say it like it is, and just say, like, a lot of these Republicans are just fucking weird. They're weird.
They are weird. It's always like an admission. There's a great I don't know if you've ever seen that stupid Steven Crowder meme that goes around everywhere. It's like he's sitting behind a table and it says convince me, but there's one that literally says every Republican's is a confession. So if they're against something, it's a confession. There's a good chance.
There's some I agree with that. There's some like, look, I love Elizabeth Warren. I like her a whole bunch, but she's easy to caricature because she's very animated and she's older and she kind of is like smaller in stature, and she's I wish
she was president.
Yeah, me too.
I think she would have been stronger president. I mean, whatever. Good.
But she's not weird, I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like Democrats that are like easy to kind of caricature. And there aren't that many. There aren't that many Democrats that are just like, oh, that's like, weird.
Well, you can just do like to say one word and everyone would know exactly who it is. Like, no one's really going to know who Nancy Pelosi is. Like, every right wing will try to pretend. And she's just some lady, but like, you could do like 2 words and people would know it's Ted Cruz.
Right. Ted Cruz is weird. He's all like,
he looks weird
and Zodiac.
He looks like a Dick Tracy villain.
Yeah. And Boebert's weird. And Cawthorne is weird. And Gates is weird. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is weird. And like
Marjorie Taylor Greene is definitely weird.
They're all like fucking weird. They're just weirdos, like they believe stupid shit and they're dumb and they don't know how stuff works, and they have like these weird little hang-ups, and some of them film themselves slapping other dudes in the face with their dick, and some of them, like, their husbands expose themselves to young girls, and some of them like stalk shooting victims, and I mean, like, some of them pay for 17-year-old girlfriends on Venmo. I mean, like, that's
like Matt Gaetz. This is the best. Matt Gaetz tweeted something recently in regards to the Supreme Court. He goes, how many of the women rallying against overturning Roe are overeducated, underloved millennials who sadly return from protest to a lonely microwave dinner with their cats and no Bumble matches? It's funny that it's not funny. It's funny that he says that because that has been a big talking point among the right. They claim that the only women who complain about abortions are like ugly loner women, and it's like, really, you think that's the case? All right. So then Tim Heidecker had the best. From Tim and Eric wrote, how many congressmen could use their foreheads for a drive-in movie screen? Mine wasn't as funny, but I retweeted him and I said, Matt Gaetz thinks this of all women over the age of 16.
Yeah, right.
It's true.
Well, it's just a party of fucking weirdos, and all
it really. I mean, especially now. I mean, it's always been kind of weird, but like once Trump came in, man, the freak, like, or the Tea Party, the freak show element just went up.
Herschel
and, like,
Walker.
Herschel. Well, thankfully, I saw that there were more polls, and what's his face is winning now.
Warnock.
Yeah, well, Mike, that's normal. Herschel Walker should not be winning. Like, that's I mean, like, I'm not saying that's going to be a blowout, but no, Herschel Walker should not even be like, this should be like a 10-point lead for the Democrats on that one. Come on.
But you have all these weirdos, Mo Brooks, Ron DeSantis, Kristi Noem, like, they're all.
Well, the joke is, I feel like Ron DeSantis is only a freak because of the element. If you didn't have like the Trumps, he would just be like any other Republican back in the day. Like, Abbott, to me, like, I think he's just an evil ghoul. I don't know if he fits into that freak thing. I don't even know if DeSantis just sucks. Like, I feel like Abbott's really good at being evil. And I feel like DeSantis is kind of just like a dope. He looks like a dopey jerk who's just like remember that fucking footage of him where he like goes off on the kid about the masks? So, come on, take that off, take it off.
I'll tell you, the most effective thing I've seen lately is those college kids talking to Ben Shapiro.
Oh, those are good.
If one of those students if DeSantis went there, I know it's tough. I'm not blaming the students. It's weird when you're put on the spot like that. But if one of the students had said to DeSantis, like, well, "Fuck you, bozo,"
Yeah.
why don't you worry about you, Ron, and I'll worry about me. If someone had said that, that would have crushed him. It really would have. And I'll bet you see a lot less of Ben Shapiro out on college campuses.
That is a huge. I mean, the right wing's been trying to fuck with the colleges for years. That's always been like a thing they've been trying to push too. Again, with the whole free speech, they try to make this fucking switcheroo where they claim the colleges are preventing free speech. And it's like, first of all, Ben Shapiro makes the schools sign a waiver before he goes there. Yeah. Like, you cannot, he makes them sign waivers. So he has no interest in actually debating anyone. There was somebody who debated him recently, and I give him credit. Like, he came out and said that he was he worked for the Warren campaign. He got booed like crazy.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta watch. I think like Matt Binder had him on recently. I kind of want to watch this one, but he brought it up and said they make you sign shit and everything. Like, Ben Shapiro's not there to really debate. It's a show. It's like, I don't even know why they let assholes like him at the college, because really what he's doing is he's hurting the school. He does more when people like Ben Shapiro or Milo Yiannopoulos back in a couple of years ago, they would do more damages to the school. It'd be like inviting yourself to get chicken pox or something, or willingly get COVID. Like, you are letting these people come in. You're
legitimizing them.
The chaos. Yeah, you're legitimizing, but you're also embracing the chaos. Like, they are there to get footage of weird looking college kids, or what they deem weird looking kids that are not fully themselves yet. Yeah. Some kids who are transitioning, but early on transitioning. Right. So, and they make them out to be freaks. This is their agenda. This is what they do to them.
Well, I'll tell you, if the kids act like the way that one kid who called Ben Shapiro a bozo, that was
just laugh him out. Don't yell at him.
No, that's the trap. You can't get mad. You're just like,
they want to see, man. They want video footage of you looking angry, crazy. Yep. So they can tell everyone, look, these people are not normal. They're the weirdos. They're the freaks. And it's like that fucking piece of shit. What's his name? That fake reporter who goes after Antifa all the time. Andy, that fucking guy. He always posts pictures of trans people, but he finds these awful mug shots, and he makes them it's to make them look
real dehumanizing,
and to totally dehumanize them, take away their humanity, and make them out to be these freaks that are trying to ruin your way of life. Yeah, that's their goal. That's what. And so when I don't know why these schools invite Ben Shapiro. They shouldn't allow. They'd be like, no, fuck that. Last time we had that guy here, it caused chaos. It did nothing for the school. It pissed people off. It's like, dude, people are paying so much money to go to these fucking schools. And then, or even the so-called cheaper schools, they're still expensive as hell. They're being wrapped up with student debt. And then they'll be like, what's your biggest memory? I don't know. Ben Shapiro came to the school one time and started a riot. It's like fuck out of here, asshole. I don't know why the schools invite. I think it's disgusting. I think those people should not be allowed. You want to have
often the board is a politically appointed board, and I'll tell you, if you're on a board in the state of Texas, you're put there because of Greg Abbott or Dan Patrick or something.
Oh yeah, well that makes listen, if they show up at UNT or one of these schools, I mean UNT's, I'm sure has a big progressive element to it. Yeah. They're gonna get fucking counter. But again, the goal they did this during the Iraq War, the right way. They would show, especially with the protesters, they would try to dehumanize the protesters that, the protesters in the Iraq War, we were right. The war was always wrong from the start. But their job was to make us look bad and make us look like over-emotional, anti-American, weird-looking, kind of like the photos that Andy Nago will post of mugshots of drugged-out people and say, these are all the trans people in Portland. And it's purposely. And so we always say, dude, we have to be on somewhat good behavior in some way, because they I mean, they're going to make us look bad no matter what.
Right.
They're going to find something no matter what. And if they don't find it, they're going to make it up. They'll create it. Like Project Veritas.
Yeah.
They'll just make it up. They'll just make up something like the acorn thing and just show up and just edit a video or edit a photo. They don't give a fuck.
Wow.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I don't know where we're going. I guess we're talking about JD Vance in the midterms.
Yeah, this was kind of, I mean, we kind of lumped all these things together at the end. It'll be interesting. I mean, that's the thing is this, the midterms, you know, the Biden election was the most important election up until that point, because
did you see the White House Correspondents' Dinner at all?
Oh yeah, I did. I went back and looked at that.
That was, I watched, you know, I forgot it was on. I found it on YouTube. It's like 4 hours long, but really it's only like 40 minutes long. You gotta fast forward through.
There are some videos out there where they basically cut off the crowd reactions and they clip it, you know.
It was like interesting to watch because you were like, they didn't have this for 4 years. Or they did, but like Trump would never once attend it. And like he had
they had tomatoes, they had pineapples, they had very dangerous fruit.
Yeah, they had lots of dangerous fruit. But man, it just showed what a chicken shit he was.
Yeah.
That's really what it showed. It showed that he was like an autocrat wannabe dictator and that he had no sense of humor. And if he went out there and did anything, one, it would give legitimacy to the press, and his whole mission was to be against the press.
Yeah.
I thought the Biden thing, his were funny. I kind of wish him and Noah were a little harder on DeSantis.
Yeah.
Like an easy joke would be like, who the hell goes there for Disney?
Right.
You got to go out to football next. You know what I mean? Like,
just
make fun of DeSantis for like this bizarre decision about Disney. Like, what are you going to go after cheeseburgers now?
Yeah.
Like,
why do you hate hot dogs?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't like chocolate chip cookies?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I thought it did a really great job of like portraying Biden as being pretty sharp and witty and on top of things. And it worked really well in contrast to Trump, who at the same time was like wandering around, wondering where he was and telling people to vote for JD Mandel. You know?
I thought that was the funniest thing ever. That is like goes down. Like that should just get played all the time now for the rest of the midterms. Like, of just JD Vance, like, and just keep calling him JD Mandel and just have Trump, just play Trump saying that. This is so funny. So basically, right before the primary or whatever, Trump came out, I guess, for JD Vance, and his opponent is named Josh Mandel, right? He's supposedly a terrible person too. This guy.
Oh yeah, he's no better.
But Trump said, like, he just was like really confused on stage. He had no idea. And then he's like, yeah, we're here for JD Mandel.
Yeah.
It's like so there was all these accounts that were created where they like photoshopped Josh Mandel's face on like JD Vance.
Right.
And it said, hey, it's me, JD Mandel, vote for write me in. And there was like so many accounts and they got like 10, 20,000 followers. Twitter removed them all.
Yeah.
You know why? Do you want to know why?
Is it Elon?
Peter Thiel.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Not because of Elon.
I know.
Do you know
I
that?
was kidding.
What?
I was kidding. A lot of people are saying like, "Oh, Twitter's changed." Elon hasn't bought Twitter yet.
No, he doesn't own it. But do you know that Jack, supposedly Peter Thiel, and I think it was Jack or whatever, they are the ones that asked. They wanted Elon to buy Twitter.
Yeah, I've heard stuff like this. Yeah.
Like, I think like it's funny. We all focus on like Elon Musk, who's just an asshole, and we focus on like Gates and
Bezos and
on that. But I think one of the real scary billionaires that people do not keep their eye on is Peter Thiel.
Yeah. He's sinister.
I think he, like, Joe Rogan is a spit out of JD Mandel's out of Peter Thiel's ass.
Yeah.
Because he has on those guys all the time, like Weinstein on. Those are all products of Peter Thiel. They're basically paid to just push a certain agenda. Fucking Ben Shapiro's part of that. That guy has influence in all social media. with Facebook, Twitter. I don't think people realize like Trump was endorsed by Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize like how bad this guy is.
Right.
I think they were like making, I don't even know, like, oh, they would go buy Disney or something. Like they'll just go buy it. And I'm like, people are like, that ain't happening. You know, it's like funny to hear these stories. Like, oh, Elon Musk is gonna go buy Twitter for 46 billion. But then you find out the reality is it's like he doesn't have that money.
Yeah, he's got to finance it, and it gets a little complicated.
And then like his stock in Tesla drops down, and the more his stock drops down, that means he has less money. Less.
Right.
I don't know. All right. Well, I don't know what else is there. I feel like there was something else we missed, but yeah, should be interesting. I'm curious. What are your predictions? You think Cawthorne's going to drop out, or you think he's just going to ride it?
I think I don't know. That's a good question. I think that they're going to give this a week of polling, and then if he's in trouble, he's going to resign.
What they say
not
again?
Seek re-election. Yeah, you can't be caught with a dead girl or a live boy.
Right.
Is the classic expression.
And right now, Cawthorne's been with too many
live boys.
Now, the problem with Matt Gaetz is he has not been caught with any
dead girls, right? You can survive being caught with a live girl, and even a pretty young one. You know, I mean, like,
well, clearly, I mean that you saw that guy, the Tennessee guy, and I feel like that's the one thing. You know, what was it that in Tennessee they voted on like attacking gay people?
And they wanted to basically restrict gay marriage and say, to create a special class of marriage. It was only
create a special class of marriage, but then also like allow child brides.
Right. Unreal.
It's so deranged, dude. I think we live in hell.
Could be.
I think, you know, I tweeted the thing about the slurp.
The ape thing.
But I said that I think the reality is I think we all died a decade ago, and we're actually just looking at a hell dimension right now.
Yeah, I could see that.
And someone wrote like, "Man, hell is." I didn't know hell would be so stupid. I'm like, actually, kind of makes sense if you think about it.
Well, my prediction is that they're going to see what the polling reveals, and Cawthorne will either not run for re-election or he'll just resign. It's hard to say, but
he's such a fucking punk. I just think like, you know, like that. Oh, I mean, I love his tweets. Like he's trying to act like he's this tough guy. Like, I told you there's a drip campaign. But it's like, who is it then? Say it. Like, are you going to try and say it's for liberals doing it or progressives?
It doesn't even matter if it's a drip campaign. It's there. I mean, these are things you did that are filmed. I mean, like you can't. There just are. It doesn't matter if anyone dripped them out. Madison. Slapping some dude's face with your dick.
I don't even get, honestly, I'm more concerned about the fucking what do you call it, like insider trading and shit like that. Or the fact that he was part of the January 6th coup.
Right, because his personal life, I mean, like whatever he wants to do in his life, it's not hurting anyone.
But it should also be reflected on his policies to sort of trans and gay people, you know.
Right.
Remember that tweet? I kind of want to like, if he resigns, I gotta find that tweet of him where he said like "cry liberals" or something.
Yeah.
And like retweet that day, like when he
funny.
gets, because that'd be really funny.
Gotta fire that up in your drafts.
What?
Gotta fire that up in your drafts. You know?
Yeah. Just got it in the docket, ready to go. Not a screenshot.
No. Yeah.
Can't be a screenshot. It's gotta be a quote.
Yeah.
Did you? All right, I'm wrapping this up now. But did you see what was it? Elon Musk wanted to add all these like fees into Twitter, and one of them was like charging for quote tweets.
Oh my god!
But then somebody like made a point and said like, okay, I could just like screenshot.
Right.
I wonder if he even runs his Twitter account.
All of his Twitter ideas are terrible. They are all like universally disliked by people.
I think that's on purpose.
Could be.
I mean, I'm not saying that he's this evil maniacal genius who's like, these are terrible. I mean, like, I think they're just I think they're on purpose, but I'm not giving him credit or to make him like to be this like this is so cringe. It's working. This psychological attack.
Oh Jesus.
It's just like, he's just an overrated dope.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess there's no Moon Knight next week.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we
Nothing.
will actually. We can talk about the last episode of Ozark because I'll
Yeah.
watch that, and then
I watched another good show. Maybe
Oh.
you should check out on Apple TV.
Okay, which one?
The After Party. It's
Okay,
so good.
Is that good?
Yes, Dave Franco, the guy who does the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
The whole bunch of shit. What's her name? She's in it too. She's like really funny as a cop.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good.
All right, cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
That.
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please like, comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.